Awesome. All right, well, hello and welcome, my friends, to another episode of Talk Power BI. We're here again, another Friday. All right, so and this one is the Talk Power BI dashboard makeover. Now, if you need more information on that, then you can go to learnpowerbi.com/makeover. How easy is that? And the idea here is that we showcase and review your Power BI reports and dashboards and provide uh, hopefully some good feedback. All right, you be the judge for that. Um, and the whole concept behind this is what I saw. And again, so my mentor, as far as visualizations go, is um, is Stephen Few, and he talks about that. Why do we get these ghastly, these really bad reports? And I think the reason is not that it's just that a lot of people are just not aware that there's this whole field of knowledge, right? So of course, if you don't have that, then you're probably creating dashboards by accident, where you're just putting things together and crossing your fingers and like, hopefully that looks good. I think that looks good. But then there's this idea of you creating a dashboard by design, using the visualization principle, understanding them, creating that. So that's what we try to do. That's what I'm trying to, kind of move the industry in that direction, and dispel some myths. And we have talked about that in previous dashboard makeover episodes, where people confuse between kind of the things they see when somebody's doing storytelling versus the things they see when somebody is creating an infographic, right? Which is shock and awe, right? I mean, that's the purpose of infographic, right? Just grab your attention. But that's not what operational reports are for. They're usually different. That's my bread and butter, right? I mean, that's what the business, that's what America, maybe the world runs on, right? So operational report, that's the key. So that's my bread and butter. That's what we focus on. So we take a look. And of course, the first question that I get is, oh, Avi, my data is sensitive. I can't share it. Fear not, my friends. We have you covered. So you're just there. You're going to find a very detailed video. No, not very detailed. It's pretty compact because it's pretty simple. Okay, it's a 6-minute video. And just how to blur, remove sensitive information. And by the way, if you do this for the dashboard makeover, guess what? You also prepare yourself for doing it for any other presentation. You can then go about and present it at user groups, meetings, business conferences, whatever you want, right? So this could be a good step to that in that direction. And of course, I always recommend my students to be doing that. And here we are live talking about this. So a few announcements. Let's see if I can do this right. Nice. So Talk Power BI, you're here. You made it. Congratulations. Thank you. Let me know if you can hear my audio okay. Well, I should have asked that question at the beginning. Hopefully my audio is coming in fine. Well, all right. And what was I going to say? Cool. Yeah. So upcoming live streams. Next week, we have Curveball, Ruth Pozuelo, and of course anybody who's kind of been around on YouTube, which is all of you guys, have run into Ruth. I'm sure seen her videos. Excellent work for us, and I'm just happy she's coming to my channel. I frankly, we were talking, and I'm like, I don't care what you talk about. It doesn't matter. It's going to be all golden to my ears. So she's coming further down in December. We have this idea that I wanted to discuss, like making of a Power BI leader. And frankly, working with our Pro Plus group has really inspired me to kind of think deeper, go deeper in this topic, to the point where I changed my homepage. Earlier, our homepage was, oh yeah, this is the training we do, and now if you go there, it's about why we do it, not what we do. And yeah, so anyway, so you can check out the page, but yeah, I'm hoping to kind of dive deeper into that in the live session that's coming in December, and we might have some other fun stuff in the middle as well. Our Pro Plus program, the full name is that Six Figures Power BI Consultant. That is opening January 2020. Woohoo! And you can find more information by going to learnpowerbi.com/pro plus. So if you're looking to become a consultant. Now, on the other hand, if you need consulting or training help, then just go to learnpowerbi.com and hit the contact me button. And yeah, we're here to help. I'm here to connect you with a pool of amazing Power BI talent all over the world. So doesn't matter which industry you're in, which location. Of course, doesn't matter because most of it is remote help. And yeah, we should be able to match you up with somebody really qualified who can really help your business get moving forward with Power BI. Cool. So, all right, folks. So I was a few minutes late, but you can see I was better prepared, wasn't I? I mean, I even did PowerPoint. Usually I have that Word document. I still have that. So hopefully that went well. I just want to check in and see all of you guys. Say hello. So first of all, shout out to, well, all of the folks you can see here. Oh gosh, so I think it's Jeff. I always forget. Casavan. Rick is here. Greg is here. Bill, Nathan, Quinn, and Charles are here. Well, thank you everybody for joining on the phone. And again, we're going to be stepping into our dashboard makeover. All right, Charles was saying he's busy putting on his post. All right, okay, that was funny. All right, let's see. Ramesh says hi. Sunil Bakshi is here. Hey, Sunil. Sunil Bakshi, by the way, was the winner of our last. So inside our program, we have this hashtag win contest, and something new that we have started. And Sunil was the last winner. I'll bring that up. And by the way, guys, in some exciting news, so Marianne and I have been talking about this. Anybody who's in the program definitely knows Marianne. Most likely, if you've emailed me, then you know Marianne. But she doesn't just handle communication. She pretty much runs the whole program. That's what I say. So, yeah, I wanted to pull up that post. So, let's see. All right, who else is here? Jen Abel. Yes, I know. We all love Carball. She's great. And, of course, the next guest I want to have. Guys in a Cube. Oh my gosh, that's going to be amazing. And of course, I've hung out with those guys at conferences. Both of them are so funny. Adam, Patrick. Yeah, they're really cool. So let me see. Oh, there we go. Yes. Yep, so that was, yay, drum roll. Sal Bakshi was the winner for October. And yeah, so we wanna bring this program to our followers as well. So that's what I was saying. So Marianne and I have been discussing and is saying, hey, let's see if we can do a version of this for our followers. So yeah, we might be announcing sometime soon. Okay, I'm new to Power BI. However, I just signed up for an edX course. Great, folks. Hey, there's no right or wrong way to learn. Of course, I mean, I have my paid course. If you ask me, hey, that's a great course. And most of my students agree. But yeah, so I just want you to keep going forward. Right? So edX, go for it. Pour yourself into it, learn it, apply it. If you get stuck, we are here to help. Of course, there are lots of forums out there and so forth. If and when you feel like, Avi's course, maybe I should consider that, then of course I would welcome you in there as well. Stephen Mann is here. Stephen, so you are first up in our dashboard makeover, so I'm glad you're here. And Marek is here. Can you help me go to FB group? So the FB group, the one that I showed, is for students only. So if you join, you get an invite. Collins is, how much will that help me? Oh, so Collins, to your question, well, I think learning is in doing. Learning is an application. So go through any course that you like and start applying it, and then see how that goes. All right. So, and yeah. So again, the way I structure my programs is that there's the concepts, then you go apply it, and then I know you're going to get stuck, and that's where there's help inside the program, because that's a critical part. So that's the way my program is structured. And the faster you go through the cycle, I call it the learn, do, fail, win, right? Learn, do, fail, you always get stuck, and you flip it around and you win. And the funny thing is, if you think about it, life works the same way as well. All right. Okay. How much can I review this webinar? Yes, so this will be recorded, but hey, hang out with us. Noor, come on. Don't leave us. No. Jen, all right, cool. So, so we're ready, folks. Let's roll up your sleeves. Yeah. And let's go to the main event, the dashboard makeover. About time, eh? So I am. By the way, I'm a bit of a pack rat as it comes to folders. I used to be much worse, but then I realized that search is far stronger than like folder structure organization. Anyway, sorry, that was not relevant at all. But I'm getting close in my folders. Talk Power BI dashboard makeover, and the first one up is Stephen Mon. I checked last night, and we had just 2 submissions. And folks, hey, we need your submissions, right? This thing runs off of that. So if you don't submit your dashboards, it's going to be a pretty short talk Power BI. So yeah, and again, the number one objection that I get is, oh, but my data is sensitive. But yeah, again, learnpowerbi.com/makeover, and we talk about how you can blur the data really quickly. So usually what I do is, for one, I filter it right away. So I instead of showing the full dashboard with everything, I just filtered like a small city, one person, something like that, right? So it's filtered, so the numbers are already off. And then I take a screenshot, blur out the parts that are sensitive, and boom, that's it, done, right? So it's really easy. All right, folks. So, man, this is going to be really awesome and epic. So I saw Stephen Moun's dashboard. I pulled it up last night, and I'm like, man, this is good. This is good. So what date are we? So this is November 15, and I'll see if I can. No, come on. So again, first of all, thanks to Steven for sending this in. All right, cool, guys. So I don't know. I was gonna try to write some stuff here, but you know what? I don't think that's gonna work. I'm just gonna go with the flow. So let's try the spin. Oops, did that work? Oh, I'm not sharing my screen, am I? Sorry, guys. You probably were saying that in the chat. Yeah. Let me check the chat just to make sure. All right. So Gustavo, there's a I actually was not talking about the Power BI conference. I was talking about the Pro Plus program that we have, and that one is for this quest of mine. So of course the basic question is a leader born, or can they be created? And of course, if they're born, then I have no control there, and I can't do anything. I can't really help anybody. But if they can be created, what's the recipe? What's the ingredient, right? I mean, what do I need to mix and shake? What do I need to do? And I really think that they can be created. If nothing, frankly, sometimes I feel like I'm not really doing much for these people. I don't know. Like, all I did was gave them the environment. So if you think about it, a flower that blooms at 30,000 feet is not going to bloom at 3,000 feet, right? So it's about the circumstances, a lot about the environment. So I feel like I know I've done that. So I'm in awe of all of our students. I see all of their accomplishments, and of course that's what the #Win program is about. But yeah, so Gustavo, I was talking about our Pro Plus. So that's our next batch of folks who wanna reach for this dream, right? I mean. And again, Power BI is just a means to an end. It's just a tool. But to use that to create a bigger impact, to create a bigger, better life for themselves, that's what I was talking about. So that's coming in January 2020. And for that, nobody has to travel to the US. It's a remote program. We have students all over the world. But there is a Power BI conference in April, yes. So you might want to travel for that. All right, so I'm sharing my screen here. And we're ready to go. All right. How do I do this? There we go. All right, I'm going to maximize the screen space. And by the way, who checked out the new November update? Well, there's this new small arrow out there, which lets you collapse it to single line. And the funny thing is, I don't think this is available in Office either, Excel. It's only available like in Excel Online and stuff. So this is cool. Okay, so guys, first impression, right? First impression, man, it looks so clean and beautiful, right? I mean, it looks nice. It feels nice. So sometimes I don't, so I work out of my bedroom, or as one of my students said, the Learn Power BI worldwide headquarters. So, and I'm glad I have this IKEA roller blind behind me. That's how the show works. Because sometimes I don't make up my bed. And man, so it just looks messy, right? So it's kind of that. I mean, right? I mean, does it look messy or does it look clean? So this looks really clean, beautiful. I like this, right? So first impression, really positive, my friend. I'm loving this. Okay, what's the next thing that I noticed? So, by the way, on my channel, um, I had done a video recently about covering basically, I recap the things that I look for in the dashboard makeover. I just recap that, right? So, so if you go to videos, you're gonna find that I think it was something about create a beautiful dashboard, and here I talked about this pattern that I've used for a long time, power pattern. And the beauty of this is it's really simple and it works. Almost, actually 100% of the stuff that I do with my clients, I start out with the power pattern, and it's really simple. So go check out that video if you get a chance later. I'm actually planning to do a lot more detail. I think this can easily be an hour. So maybe we'll do a masterclass or something about this and dive deeper into it. So looks clean, and then I refer to the power pattern because in the power pattern, one of the key things that I talk about is you start with high level numbers, and then you give some breakdown and trends, and then you show a little bit of detail, right? So again, say it with me. Start with high level numbers, give some breakdown, some trends, and then a little bit of detail. Not too much detail, right? So people sometimes, if you're coming from Excel, you fill it with kind of tables and tables and matrix and matrix, and guys, get over that. All right. So yeah, this looks really clean. And yeah, the high level numbers are right up top here. The only thing that I would change here is I usually do in the power pattern, as you would see in the video, I do put high level numbers at the top, but then I do breakdown and trends over here because I think that's easier to consume, and then I put detail, right? So what I would do is I would swap these two elements. So again, great dashboard, but what I would do is gosh, hold on guys, what's happening? My drawing app is going crazy. But I would take this element and put this here, right? So imagine like somebody's starting high level, they looked at the high level number, total sales expense is great. Then they see the breakdown and the trends. In this case, really is just trend, so that's okay. And then they see the detail. So if you think about it, this is a lot of detail. So think about what does a human mind go through. So guys, the funny thing is that to understand the principles of visualization, you kind of got to understand the human brain. And frankly, if you read the Stephen Few's book, Information Dashboard Design, get the hard copy if you can. I wouldn't recommend the Kindle book, even though I'm a huge Kindle fan. That one, you got to hold it in your hands. So it talks about the human brain and how it works. So for us, we're really bad, at absorbing like this numbers and quantity, right? Graphs and stuff, we understand almost sometimes, and it's called precognition, which in a way is saying even before it hits our brain, we kind of know what it is or something like that, right? So it's pretty crazy. So this is much easier to absorb. So that's what I would do. I would put this over here and put the detail over there. So the way they're scanning, and again, the way the human eye scans is in this Z shape. So from the top left, that way. Unless you're in a country which, you write Arabic or something, and then you scan the other way, right? But most of the world, English and other languages, scan this way. So we do that for reading, but it's so hardwired into us by now that we pretty much scan everything, everything written. So again, so that's also a reason why this stuff is slightly more important. You want them to see this first. Cool. So, right. So I shared a few points. Power number up top, what else? Let's see. So this is really good, man. This is really good. So I just love how beautiful it is. Now this is, I'm not sure, it looks intentional, but I think you can emphasize that a little more. So do you remember, guys, what did I say is the most important element in visualization design? Anybody remember that? And dang it, the YouTube is on a lag, so I wouldn't be able to wait. But I'll see your comments. Type it in, my friends. If you got it right, I'll give a shout out to you. The most important element is white space. It's crazy. So look at this. So again, I'm not sure if it's intentional, but we can make it intentional. So if you think about it, so again, guys, dashboard by design, not by accident. Dashboard, say it with me, dashboard by design. Every single thing by design. And of course, we saw that example of that in last time we did dashboard makeover. with Matt Bracken, the energy dashboard. Man, it blew me away. We had to struggle to find kind of feedback. So, so if it was dashboard by design, if you look at these metrics here, total sales, total expenses, net income loss, right? Good enough. But then you notice that as I'm reading it, like open location, total cost, it changes, right? It changes. So these two are different. So what we want to do is give a visual clue to that. So what we can do is, and again, just use white space. White space is the most effective element of visual design. So what we're going to do is we're going to place these things just a little bit closer. Oops, not that close. And let's try that. And man, thank God for these alignment grid lines. Okay, I'm not going to do it to perfection, but yeah, you could kind of get the idea, right? Oops, wrong element. And we'll move this a little. So again, I'm not doing it right because I don't have I don't have good mouse control. I don't know what to say. But you get the idea. So okay, let's try that. And of course, guys, if you struggle with this, by the way, you can always go to kind of visualization and general and hand type it in. You can nudge it pixel by pixel. I've done that when needed to, right? Oops. I think there's a box which is white. I don't think we. Oh, do we need that? Oh, we do need that because the background is slightly off-white. That's okay. Okay, cool. So come back here, and oops. All right, so you get the idea, right? So obviously I didn't do it to perfection, but you get the idea that we can use white space. I want to click out of it. Gosh, how do I? Okay, there we go. Right, so we use white space. So again, what we did was we brought these elements kind of closer together, right? Reduce the white space and increase the white space. And maybe I overdid it a little bit, but you get the idea. So now, visually when it's scanning, so again, this stuff happens precognitively, right? I mean, kind of before it hits the brain. That we see this, we automatically, and human brain, well, I mean, yeah, it's smart that way, right? So we automatically, like, just a white space, it'll clue us in. So our brain is thinking, this is a cluster. This is a cluster, right? So you keep these things together, these things together. Okay, that's a little bit of feedback there. By the way, slicers, I often see people place the slicer up here, place the slicer up here. But guys, come on, right? I mean, so hey, we've talked about this, right? Dashboard by accident or dashboard by design. Dashboard by accident, you just throw elements up there and say, looks good, right? Dashboard by design is understanding that, you know, this is the most important piece of real estate. And of course, that's another thing that I've shared here and in my video is that treat it as real estate, right? So you're a mogul, real estate mogul, and you know, what are you going to build at your prime real estate? You know, build a skyscraper or something, mall. No, not a mall. All right. So this is the prime real estate, and in general, people scan from here to here. So these areas are very important real estate wise, and you want to use them wisely. So don't put slicers there. I mean, not unless you can help it, right? So slicers are not data pixels. That's another thing we have talked about. You emphasize the data pixels. Let data be the hero, not this flashy, shiny thingies in my face. Get that out of my face, my brain, right? Let the data shine. Data is a hero, and de-emphasize or eliminate the non-data pixel. And slicers, they're not really data, right? I mean, well, maybe a little bit, right? It's communicating the selection that's been made. So slicers, they're important. You want them to be there. I love slicers, but I usually try to put them, you know, kind of in the less important section, so that's my favorite spot, right? So that's perfectly done. So that's really done. Another thing that I would call out is updated as of date. That's really cool. Now I'll share a little bit of a trick that I use. So what would happen is that my model, my Power BI model, was connected to a data warehouse, right? So I was connected to data warehouse, and my model would refresh every day. So I would say, it's, you know, what was the date today? So November 15th. Yeah, it was like refresh on November 15th, right? And I actually, right? So, and then people said, sometimes somebody would come up to me from the sales team and say, but it doesn't have yesterday's data, or it doesn't have data for 2 days ago, or it only has data till November 10th. And I'm like, oh man, what's going on? And I would research and I would see that the data warehouse had some issues and they didn't have recent data, so obviously I can't. So I'm not actually sure how. Actually, let's take a peek of how Steven has done it. Updated date. So yeah, so you can write two different measures. One is so he's trimming the calendar. Lots of different ways. Hey, what? Yeah, many ways to skin the cat. That sounds really nice. Why would we skin the cat? Is that even a phrase, or I'm just making it up? So lots of ways to do it. But again, the idea is, so what I did was that I would show them when I refresh the model, right? I mean, like, dude, I refreshed, right? Tried, right? And then we have data as off, right? So we'll say, oh, the model was refreshed yesterday or this morning, 11:15, right? So model refresh 11:15, and let's say latest data till or data as off, and let's say November 10th. And of course, now you can do the small info icons and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, I trained them to know the difference and say, hey, if that one is, if you see that the model refreshed November 15th and the data is of November 10th, don't talk to me, talk to the data warehouse folks, right? So there's something wrong over there. Yeah, so you can show 2 days, but that is effective. But now that I'm kind of hovering over the top, I do feel like that this is a little bit. So again, this is the most prime real estate. Maybe this can be kind of minimized. So again, often you don't need to do much. So non-data pixels you want to remove or de-emphasize. So this is pretty prime real estate. So in my power pattern, what you would see is that I do put the title here, but then I put the numbers right there. So it's okay to do it this way too, but I'm wondering if we can make it kind of smaller. Does it need to be that big? And of course, my big question, does it need to have this blue fill? Actually, let's talk about color for a second. So yeah, I don't think that blue fill is working because, so again, dashboard by design or dashboard by accident. So like, what are we communicating with that color? Maybe it's part of our theme or something like that. Maybe it's our company colors, and that's okay. That's okay. But I think there's something slightly off. So again, I'm like, splitting hair here. Now we're getting to define stuff, which is obviously some of it is, guys, subjective, right? So by the way, visualization design is a little bit of art plus science, and frankly, I love that. I love that realm because frankly, for me at least, science sometimes kind of gets boring, right? But when there is art element to it, that means there's no right or wrong, and there's just trade-offs, and you have to understand the trade-offs and know which one to use when. The funny thing is, you wouldn't think it, but Power BI is the same way. It's art plus it's science. Because of course, the things that I said just now about visualization designs, you've heard me talk about the exact same thing with Power BI. Haven't I said like there's no right or wrong, right? I mean, it's not wrong to use calculated columns. It's not right to use measures, but there is a trade-off. In that case, there's a huge trade-off. But sometimes it's very subtle. And sometimes it'll vary by your situation, right? I mean, it's like, oh, cool, this is the trade-off. I understand that. But in one situation, you might choose one. Otherwise, in other cases, you would choose the other. Again, it's not about right or wrong. It's about understanding the trade-offs and making those decisions conscientiously. I think I said it right. And again, if you think about this, we're talking here about dashboard by design. The same thing applies to your models. How are you creating models? I was going to say most of the models, but a lot of models that I see, they're models by accident. They just pull stuff in there. It's like, oh yeah, I connected to my data warehouse, and what I call it is you had your data warehouse throw up inside your Power BI model, right? I mean, we just imported everything. Guys, data warehouse works on different, it works differently. You don't want to just grab that and put that in a Power BI model. Sometimes it works, but oftentimes it doesn't. It's really bad. And of course, I've seen the other thing where people, they have like a lot of Excel sheets and they just, pull that into Excel. And there is no design. And there's no fixed on, so the tables and the relationships. And I'm like, what is the model, right? So anyway, so I wouldn't go too deep into that because we're not here for modeling makeover. We're here for dashboard makeover. So cool, art plus science. So what I would say is that we're talking about colors here, is that color theme, I get it, but I think there's one thing which is throwing me off a little bit, which is this color is being used in two places here. One is kind of this theme color. So this one is background blue, and this one is background blue, right? And we're going to ignore the fact that this one is light blue for now. I mean, that one is maybe a little bit, but that's a different shade. So, okay, so forget about that for now. But what my issue is with sales is colored blue. So now my brain is confused, right? I'm thinking, what's like a sales blue? Is it? Well, this is not sales, right? So here sales is blue. So I think there's a little bit of conflict there. So what I would say is, if blue is your theme color or something company color, and you want to have that element represented in the dashboard, I would change the sales color. I would change this to something else. And believe me, guys, I really, I shouldn't say that, but colors don't always come easy to me. and yeah, so if somebody would ask me like, oh, change it to blue to what? I was like, oh God, I don't know, I have no idea. So yeah, I'll let you kind of experiment. So yeah, company colors. Okay, Stephen, I see you comment. So yes, I would change the sales because again, right, I mean, sales I think can be something else, I think, and oftentimes, so again, if you are like me, where colors don't come easy to you always, sometimes they do. When I'm coloring with my daughter, it's a funny thing, right? I mean, you walk into a kindergarten class and say, "Hey, who here knows how to draw?" And all hands would go up. And you walk into a corporate boardroom and say, "Who here can draw?" And people are like, I don't know, right? I mean, yeah. So guys, we're good at a lot of stuff, right? I mean, we just you just got to try it, right? So what you can often do is I use kind of shades of the same color, and that works pretty effectively. Yeah, on one graph you shouldn't have more than 5 different shades, but 5 different shades I can, or human eye or human brain, we should say, we see with our brain, not with our eyes, can differentiate. So again, I mean, this is just a gentle suggestion. I'll let it be your call. So again, we're kind of in the deep stuff here. Sales, maybe just check it out, just try it out, see if you can make it a different color, and so that way you keep the company colors and you keep that. So so the other thing that I was going to say was, so I'm just going to say it out, and again, it's your call, right? It's art plus science. So the idea behind what Stephen Few says is, you either eliminate or you de-emphasize non-data pixels. So if you think about it this way, actually the funny thing is I've never thought about it this way, but you know how we talked about screen real estate, right? So real estate, what if you thought about it that oh man, every pixel costs me $1,000. Every pixel that I paint, I have to pay $1,000. How would you use it, right? So obviously we would want to put the pixel where the data is, right? So think about it that way. So anything that's non-data, imagine if you're paying real money out of your pocket, what are you going to do? You're going to either eliminate it or de-emphasize it, like maybe, or maybe you have to pay more for darker pixel, which actually, oh man, this is good stuff, guys. I just came up with it. And thanks to you. So hey, I always say to teach is to learn twice. And so screen, we've talked about this, so is kind of real estate, right? And each pixel you have to pay, right? To pay something, a variable amount, based on the intensity of the pixel. So dark red, oh, you gotta pay, my friend. Oh, not dark red, but bright red. Light gray is lower cost. You don't pay that much for that, all right? So now what are you gonna do? So you're paying with real money. So I want to spend my dollars, man. I'm gonna pour my money in obviously data pixels, which are communicating information, because man, if I don't communicate this, what the heck is the purpose of my dashboard? That's the only purpose. That's it, right? So well, at least for operational dashboards, sometimes infographics and all that stuff, you want to grab their attention first, because otherwise they're not interested. That's a whole different thing. We're not really talking about that here. So we're gonna pour our money to data pixel. Man, my data pixels gotta be there and gotta be right and all that sort of stuff, right? Reduce dollar on non-data pixels, right? So either we eliminate if we can, or emphasize it, right? And of course, a lot of that is so. By the way, Power BI is generally good with these things. I think it's a little bit better than Excel. In Excel, when we would do graphs, we would have to do quite a bit of cleanup. For instance, I don't know. Man, I haven't used Excel in a long while, but I think in Excel, there by default, there's the axis line is there. That's the kind of stuff which is not needed, right? I mean, yeah. So if you think about it, so Stephen Few has this concept of again, we got to understand how the human brain works, right? So what Stephen Few talks about is that you can draw a box like this, or let me see if I can manage to draw straight lines. You can draw two lines like this. Let me do it on another way. Yeah, or you can draw. Look at me, perfect line. You can draw two lines like this. Now the funny thing is that a brain completes the picture, right? So a brain, it kind of connects these dots, so it still can see it as a rectangle, right? So that's where axis lines don't, that you don't really need them. So, and again, Power BI does that kind of automatically. And so the things that we would kind of do in Excel when we were cleaning up was we'd remove the Excel lines and we would really make the axis line, the grid lines, like really faint, really light gray. So again, you're spending with your money, with your real money, if you think about that, right? So yeah, so here, I mean, I would have said that, hey, do you really need this deep blue? And yeah, I would have looked at that and say, hey, can you remove it? Can you lighten it? Something like that. But I get it, it's company colors, so maybe it stays. Man, so this has been pretty awesome so far. So folks, let me know what you think so far. Let me know if you have any input, if you see something that I missed. So I'm going to pause for a second. All right. Yeah, so Brian, yeah, so yeah, I was talking about I yeah, I mean, I have been accused of that, dude. Your dashboards are monochromatic because they would be like, yeah, shades of gray. um, but it works. Yeah, it's funny how little you need. You just need like hints and suggestions. I mean, people would do fill and they would do like heavy boxes and that sort of stuff, right? I mean, so how Steven has done like these white boxes and this off-white background, and then but you would see like filled in boxes. Oh gosh, I've seen a lot of stuff. And again, and again, um, nobody told us. Nobody told us that, guys, there's this whole area of visualization design. It's really simple to learn. It's not complicated. It's really simple stuff, right? But obviously you're gonna get better as you apply those things. And learning comes from doing. So learn, do, fail, win. But yeah, it's simple stuff. Ron has a good point. So Ron is saying, I have trouble with the orange line or the blue bar. Tough to see. That's a good catch. That's a really good catch. Let me see. Let me check in. So, folks on the phone, you can definitely unmute yourself as well. How do I? Or let me see if there's something came in the chat. All right. The y-axis on the right of the bottom right graph is a little confusing. Yeah, so dual axis, is that what's throwing us off, Nathan? Yeah, so this is this one is a little tricky, right? So the way kind of I've been trained is, but then again, your users might not know this. Like if you would ask me, I would say the bars are using this axis and the line is using this axis. Right, so sales cost per customer. But yeah, so this is actually interesting. So can we plant a clue, like somebody, if they wouldn't know, what clue can we use? I don't really know. I was thinking, like, we take this color, and again, I want to change the color of the sales. But imagine if we did just a little bit of something here, so we know which we had a small line here, blue. And again, Power BI can't quite do that. I wish I wish it could, but forget about Power BI. Forget about the tool limitations for now, right? Just think about it from a visualization perspective. So imagine if they had like a, so obviously I can't
Yeah,
draw in
Avi,
the same colors. Um,
can't you add titles to the axis?
okay, yeah, but that takes up real estate too. So you can, but then it's going to
Yeah,
be
to
kind
be
of a
honest, I hate it
choice.
too. I hate titles as well. It just takes up too much space.
Exactly, exactly. So yeah, so again, I mean, I'm feeling kind of less is more. So again, I was thinking kind of out of the box. So I do feel that if we had just imagine if you could do this where a small kind of a line blue here. I think that would do the trick. I think that would orient people. So and again, imagine this in the exact same shade. What are we using for sales? And this in the exact same shade. I think that would help them. But again, you can train. So again, right? I mean, no right or wrong answer. So you can do titles, and in some cases you do. Some cases I'm sure I do, right? And again, you try it out and you look at how it works, looks, and it would all. So somebody had called out. So on the very first dashboard makeover, we're doing the third one, by the way, which is cool. We were talking about. Oh yes, like what is important, and somebody had said like the audience, and of course, so the audience is very important. So if the audience is kind of data savvy, they've looked at these graphs for a long time, they're going to be. They're not even going to need any help. They're going to say, "Yep, the left is always the first thing, and the line is always this one." But again, so depending on the audience, you can try titles. You can maybe in a different tool. In Excel, sometimes is a little more flexible, a little more customizable. You can do the line trick that I said. Maybe I was thinking about it. I'm not a huge fan of this. Was you could change the color of this text to match this color. I'm not a huge fan of that. So I don't know. That's but yeah, this orange line on blue is problematic. Which reminds me that so guys, color blindness is a real thing, and it happens to male more than female. Something to do with the genetics there, and I don't remember. I mean, it's I don't remember the percentage, but it's yeah. I mean, there are people who do have color blindness, and I think it's on a scale like severity. And what I've realized is that nobody is I wouldn't say nobody, but they don't mention it. They almost never ever mention it. I don't know. It's just one of those things. Yeah, they don't like showing the graph or something. They're not gonna go. "Well, I can't differentiate the colors." I don't know, right? And maybe if I was, I would feel hesitant too, right? So they don't mention it. So that's kind of the next level of dashboard design. And frankly, I'm not quite there yet. I haven't quite designed it that way. But the next level is to design it with accessibility in mind. And for me, at least, the starting point is, hey, can we build something which works for colorblind people too? Right. So again, they're not going to tell you, and they might be in the audience. They might be the the big honcho, right? They might be the senior manager you're presenting it to, right? And they're like, oh, what I couldn't even, so yeah, so they'll think something, but so some of the things is frankly I've forgotten. I remember I think Stephen Few talks about that too, and at that time I had read up on that and so forth, and there's a lot of detail about which colors get mixed up and which colors usually people cannot see. But one thing that you can do is, so let's do a hypothetical scenario, right, where I can't really differentiate blue versus red, right? So I'm colorblind, I can't really differentiate that, but what they can always differentiate is the intensity, right? The shading, how deep it is, how dark it is. So what you can do is change the shading as well, and maybe that is already there. So you notice how this one is like lightly shaded. Man, am I seeing things, or is that? Yeah, that is lightly shaded. Yeah. So in fact, I think that might be a little too subtle. Maybe that's okay. Like I don't understand this shading. Like something is white, something is. I think these two are too close to each other in the shading for the human eye to be able to make apart. So I would do something about that. Either kind of get rid of this, not use this. Well, 2% is as okay as 0%, or darken this just a shade darker, right? So imagine, so yeah, you know how you do red, yellow, green, but you can also vary their intensity. So red is like a little bit brighter. As that way, even if they can't differentiate the color, they can differentiate the intensity. So yeah, that's one. Talking about that, yeah, I'm not sure. So let's see, what is So blue seems to be good, which yeah, okay, now I get it. So I think company colors, yep, blue is good, go blue. So blue is good, and red is bad. And I also wanted to comment. Sorry guys, that sometimes struggle with words. But yeah, I wanted to give kudos to Stephen. And maybe this came with the color palette, or I'm gonna assume that this was by design. So guys, so there are different shades of the colors. There is, of course, the bright red, but usually somewhat muted colors work better. So notice he's not using like bright blue, and I like it, right? I mean, even if he could have used that color here, but he didn't. So I would say that was I think that was thought out. I'd say, oh, that looks a little too much. So just yeah, so sometimes you can just do a lighter shade, and of course you can experiment with making it even lighter. So again, right? I mean, human eyes, we just need a little bit of nudge. We don't need that much, right? We just need a little bit nudge. So maybe you can try that as well. Where you can say, hey, if the shade, this one is a little lighter and this one is a little lighter, would it still work? But of course, I think this one is something that needs to be done over here. Cool. So and boy, guys, if you noticed, we're at the first page now. All right, cool. So this has been pretty cool. Anything else? Let's see. Um, icons. Oh, yeah, all right. So Tim had a good comment about color blindness. Mm, yeah, so icons versus fill in. Um, yeah, yeah. I don't know. I mean, the thing about icons is, man. So again, it's a piece of real estate. So you're gonna have to find real estate for icons. I mean, this one is so compact that I'm gonna have to do something. I'm gonna have to make these graphs smaller. Maybe I can do that, right? So maybe find some space here, gonna make that smaller, make that bigger, put icons over here. And of course, the right way to do icons, usually, guys, is we talk about that red, yellow, green, is you don't show the green thingy. Don't show it. Do not show green because, and again, I mean, art plus science, so make your own call. But um, most often, who cares about green, right? I mean, people care about red. It's like this needs my attention, right? I mean, you don't go, oh, this is good, this is good, this is good, this is good, unless of course you're doing something very different where you want to call out like kind of the winners and the losers, and that needs equal attention as that, right? So what needs attention? What needs action? Let's talk about that, right? I mean, where are you going to dive in and take action, right? If something is right really really good, would you kind of go in and take action? Well, then maybe you do show green. But generally, it's like, yep, everybody's meeting the budget, 2 thumbs up, right? But this person or this team, this department, man, they're in the red, right? So yeah, so green, yellow, red. If you're doing icons like that, then do yeah, see if you can kind of remove green, not show that. And of course, what was I going to say for icons? So another thing about color blindness that we were talking about is versus budget. Let's see, conditional formatting icons is Excel has that too, and I think that's intentional. I think folks in Excel and Power BI, they designed it based on that. So if you notice this, that it not only has the color, but the shape is different as well. So again, so obviously for colorblind people, they're not going to have any trouble. And again, here, generally, I would say you can, just don't use this. Just remove that. I mean, if it's green, then good. It's, all of those things are good. All right, terrific. Let's see. Perfect. Yeah, so yeah, Stephen Mon had the same comment that it's messed up my real estate. Whoa, are you speaking my language now? That's great. That's great. All right, folks. But again, so this is beautiful dashboard. It's a beautiful dashboard. Okay, one last thing. Oh my gosh, one last thing is so we talked about how the high level numbers are up top, which is awesome, and the low numbers are here. And again, this is like really minor now, but I would like this stuff to pop a little bit more, you know. And what's the most effective element in visualization design? White space. Oh my gosh, white space. So maybe if we just gave it a little bit more room, right? So so just Just see if I can manage that. Boom. And let me just try that. And yeah, let's see how that looks. Interesting. All right, again, it's just I just want to kind of emphasize a little bit more, or just want to see what happens. Okay, so of course I have to. Okay, let me see how that looks. Okay, all right. So again, I mean, and you can be the judge whether it works or not. But again, you see how putting some white space here, and right now it's off white, which is fine, by the way. It just does something different, right? I mean, it gives a visual break between this and the lower element. And of course, we talked about moving the graphs over here and the tables over here. We can do that later. But again, it gives that visual break. So yeah, and again, you can be the judge. Like, do you like it this way? I was like, does it make this pop a little bit more? Does it, does it make the eyes to kind of stay on this for a while? I think it does, right? So since there's a visual break, people would spend just maybe a fraction of a second more staying here than this. So again, what you're doing with good visualization design is it's like, how you go through a museum and you're like stumbling from one room to the other, like, oh yeah, this is cool, and then you spend a lot of time in the first few rooms, and then you're so tired and you just run through the rest of them, right? That's our typical visit to the museum, right? So but imagine if you went with a guided tour, right, and like an expert, museum expert, and boy, they would go take you to the best spots, and they'll say, oh yeah, in this room, look at this, and da da da, this is something, and this was done by this king, and so forth, right? So good visualization design, oh man, this stuff is worth writing down, isn't it? So good visualization design is like a guided tour through a museum, but you're not there, right? So visualization design is like getting a guided tour museum without the guide actually being there. So you're not there with them. So we're going to look at the other dashboard, by the way. Factory violations report sent by Hong Kang-yi, if I remember the name right. And that's very different than this. So that's going to be fun. So think about this. So we're guiding them. We're not there, but we are there holding their hands. So, if you do it this way, then you're saying to them, yeah, man, this is important. Just hold on a second. Just spend a little bit more time here. So you gave it a break, right? So you gave it a visual break, and that makes the mind take a break. Like, oh, before I go down there, oh, that's another section. Oh, that's a whole different thing. Oh, cool. Oh, yeah, this stuff is right up top. So, you can kind of experiment with that. And again, maybe that's a little too much. Maybe you can reduce it. But yeah, I think just a little bit there. Whew, all right, man. So, hey, what if you do this? I'm going to take the next dashboard, and we're going to come back and have some fun here. And by the way, so this was last night. Stephen Man and Hong Kang-yi had sent the dashboard. If you sent the dashboards after that this morning, then I'm going to take a look at that too. And if you want to do it for next time, you can always go to learnpowerbi.com/makeover, right? How easy is that? Makeover, and just submit your entry anytime. So the next time we run dashboard makeover, we're going to pull yours in, right? So yeah, just go there, submit your entry. And again, if you have sensitive data, we got you covered. Just watch this video. Makes it easy. And again, guys, this is a stepping stone. By the way, so of course, we were talking about our Pro Plus program, and what you've seen is our Pro Plus students do these project presentations, and I feel so. This is one way to put it. If a tree falls in a forest, does it really make a sound? If you do great work, but nobody really knows about it except maybe, the few people you showed that, maybe a manager, maybe your team, few clients, then does it really matter? Man, it really doesn't. And certainly so in this new day and age, right? So you got to be able to do good work, but then you got to be able to tell a story. And for one, guys, just get started on that. So this dashboard makeover is such an easy way to do that. By the way, I also did another video, find a Power BI job guaranteed in 3 genuine steps. And one of the key steps is this ability to tell your story. And you got to get started. And this is the gentlest this can be, right? I mean, and of course, for our students, we can have them on the phone. So of course, everybody who's in my Learn Power BI community, I would strongly encourage you to do this, right? So, and again, this one thing is going to help you whether you want to be a consultant, whether you're considering about the Pro Plus program or not, or you want to be in a full-time position. Doesn't matter, right? I mean, it's going to give you superpowers, my friend, right? So be able to tell your story. You can do it internally inside your company. I did a lot of brown bags. I would show my dashboard, go to meetings. Like I had a financial dashboard. I would go to. I figured out the group of finance people in Microsoft and showed it to like everybody. The finance people worldwide inside Microsoft. Whatever the dynamic inside your company is, yeah, you can share it internally. You can share it externally, and let this be your first step, where you just take a screenshot and just send it in, and yeah, and that's well, you get showcased in front of the whole world. All right, so let's do the next one. All right, so Sahil, yeah, I got your note. Yeah, so yeah, the funny thing is, so the ones that I look at, we just filter on. Oh, okay, got it. So yeah, I think you resent it with the. Yeah, I was gonna say we key in on the subject line dashboard makeover, so I have that for you. So let's look at Sahil's. Oh, I have Sunil's entry as well, and that's it. Um, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, weirdly enough, we get these emails where people send us they like click this button and they don't attach anything. So let's look at Sahil, and let's then the one by Hong Kang Yi. That one is actually, did I mention that it's in Chinese? So it's going to be really interesting because since I wouldn't quite understand the text. Oh, sorry, I was messing up the name. Kang Hong Yi. How did I get that wrong? I feel so embarrassed. Ni hao, my friend, by the way. So yeah, so we're gonna have to, since I don't quite understand kind of what's there, we would have to just look at it on the merits of the visuals itself. So that's gonna be interesting. But let's look at what Sahil has to send us. How to choose colors? Oh gosh. Oh man. Okay, I'm not the best guy for the color palette, but
Yeah, Avi.
hey
All
Sahil.
right.
Yeah.
Just wanted to give you a brief of what it is. So, my organization has a set of colors that I can use. So I can't
Yeah.
use colors beyond that. And so the graph that you have open right now, it
Yeah.
has I wrote
Yeah.
numbers next to it. So you see 1 through 7.
Yeah.
So that
Eh,
defines the criticality in terms of
Oh,
how
okay, okay,
critical the
okay, okay, got it.
discrepancy is.
Got it. But rather than the color, I mean, so it depends on the visual, right? So of course, if you had like a line chart or something like that, well, forget the line chart. But in terms of the graph, what I want to ask, what's more important is the way these things are ordered. And take a guess which is like the most important, like visually, out of all these things being shown here, out of all these 7 ones, which one is the most visually important in a stacked graph?
Hmm.
It's
The
actually
one in the center or the start?
it's the start. Because for one, the start has a really unfair advantage over any other thing, which is you can compare exactly, right? I mean, imagine if you didn't have the labels, right? So again, we were talking about kind of data, right? So imagine if you didn't have the labels, like I wouldn't have any trouble comparing how this orange thing, no notes, how this thing did. I mean, I can say, yep, well, it about doubled in June, July, dang, we were down, and we were worse than May. August, we were a little bit better. And again, I mean, so of course, length is a great so of course you've heard me, right? I mean, my staple is line chart, bar and column charts, and then kind of what I call basically the tables, table matrix card, and all that stuff, right? So yeah, this one has an amazing advantage which none of the other ones have. Like, so imagine if you remove these labels, man, I'm really struggling to compare. Like, is it, it becomes really hard. So that one is kind of the most important, the one. So yeah, so but even otherwise, I think rather than thinking about the colors, if it's just a stacked chart we're talking about, I would see if you can like put these numbering in there, and then sort this column by that numbering so that it shows in that order, and by the way, the I think the last one gets more attention too. So, I did say that the first one is visually kind of most important, but um, I'm not sure. Maybe you arrange it. You can try both ways. You can try arranging it with a kind of the number one. This guy is in this spot, and two is
How
in
do you
this
how
spot.
do you arrange? How do you fix that alignment? So I
Yeah,
didn't decide that this is the way. So that no notes is going to be the first one to show. I'm
yeah.
not sure how the system decided that. How do I
Yeah,
change
yeah. So of course by default it's alphabetical. So no notes. Yeah, yeah. So it's definitely alphabetical, right? M, N, and T. So you can override that the same way we override the month names. So of course it's kind of weird, right? I mean, you put a calendar table, and if you don't follow my instructions correctly, then it's gonna show April as the first month, which is so embarrassing. And of course, nobody wants that; it's just wrong. So then you go and say, oh, no, no, no. Sort this column, this text column. Don't sort it alphabetically. Sort it using the month num. Now, of course, what people don't realize is that you can use that trick for any column, any text column. So you can take this, and so in your data table, you can have. Oops, let's go back to this guy. How are we doing time? It's 10:06. So you can so in you can have like no notes, and let's try this. So this is what I would do, I think. So we'll say label sort num, label sort num, something like that. What is it actually? Hold on. Discrepancy. Okay, got it. So let's go with that. So we'll say discrepancy discrepancy sort. Oh, let me just do this. Cool. So we'll say notes, and the next one is notes and 100k plus. You get the idea, right? So you fill it out, and the last one is going to be number 7, which is no notes 3+ days and 100k plus. And then you would just say 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. Oops. So I would create probably a table like this, like a separate table, not and then merge it with wherever this data is being shown. Yeah, does that make sense?
Not really tried merging a lot, but I'll give it a shot.
Okay. Um, yeah, yeah, it's gonna be super easy. Yeah. So merge, yeah. So try that. So, and of course, hey, you're in the program. So in the query editor, we do cover merge as well. So you would merge it, and then you would say discrepancy sorted by this.
Okay, that part I'm clear about.
Cool.
I've done that
Awesome.
before.
Awesome. So I'll take it one next level. All right. We're like big league now. All right. So the next level is maybe it wouldn't apply in this case, but it's possible that you would run into in some cases. And the course, by the way, has an example of that too, which is that sometimes you want to sort it by alphabetically, right? So in the course, the example that is its customer name. Generally we do want it alphabetical, but sometimes, and in that case, and this was a real need. I mean, this was what a client was asking me. It's like, oh, when you show me customer names in Slicer, I want the ones with which are our biggest customers to be at the top, right? So sometimes, so usually it's alphabetically, but sometimes is based on biggest customer. And of course, what defines biggest customer? That's another good question. It's like sales. Well, total sales, life to date, year to date, this year. Oh well, that's the same as year to date. Or last 12 months doesn't. Well, you're gonna have to figure that out with the customer, right? But say hey. So I had them define it for me, but doesn't matter. But so of course you can't do both. Right? If you go to customer name, the default is alphabetical, but then you figure out the sort order and then say, oh, sorted by this, then it's always sorted by that. Now, of course, a fix is really easy where you basically duplicate the column. Again, it's really easy, but you uh, and I would just, I think in the course, I mean, obviously you can give it a good name like customer name sorted, or customer name. You can say that by total sales or something like that. And so when you use this field, then that field is sorted by a specific order, and the default is alphabetical, right? So again, I mean, keep that in your back pocket if you ever run into the scenario where you want like two different sort orders, and yeah, maybe there's another way, but the only way I figured out is basically you duplicate the column. One has this sort order, the other has this sort order.
That makes sense.
All right, cool.
Thank you.
All right, folks. So let's kind of recap what we talked about. So Sahil is constrained to the company's colors, which is a good idea. Usually, I mean, usually they're smart folks who are a lot more comfortable around colors. Probably like my daughter. I love her drawings, and who have come up with this. And yeah, and everybody's using it. And in that we were talking about how do we kind of prioritize. So I think. Yeah, so usually though, we talked about ordering the column charts in a stack chart. Now, of course, line chart works totally differently. So I think it's going to be on visual. So if for a line chart, if you visually see a line chart, what you're going to notice is that the stuff that is at the top, right? I mean, it all depends on what the data looks like. So if there is stuff clustered like this, I mean, clearly, no matter the color, the attention would go here, right? So again, priority, you can't really control it by color or anything, even by sorting, because line, well, you can't really sort it, right? So it depends on the visual. If I were to do this and not, forget about the ordering thing, then I would basically, so I'm actually glad I remembered it. So technically, what we call color is actually two things, kind of the hue and intensity. Hue and intensity. What we call color. And hue is, I think, the real shade, and the intensity is just think about like kind of the dark red versus light red, that sort of stuff, right? So you can pick a color, and then for that color you can go intense and lighter, right? So I think what I would do is if I could pick my color for like in notes is going to be gray. If I could pick my color, then I would just take the order and change it in intensity. So again, I don't know if you want to emphasize number 1 or number 7, but if I want to emphasize number 1, then I'll pick the color in the palette which has the most intensity, which I think it's this one in my eyes, or this one is pretty close as well. But obviously this is low intensity, right? So, and if I wanted to emphasize 7, then I would pick 7 with the kind of higher intensity, and then I would just go down that scale, right? So in my mind, I would say, I mean, you can see even this, like these two are the most intense, and this one is the least. That's pretty easy. This one is pretty intense as well, and this one is, so yeah, probably these two come after these guys. And yeah, these ones are good middle choices, and this one is kind of on the low end, right? So we'll probably go kind of 1, and then well, maybe 2 or 3. Yeah, these ones are pretty close, and then 4 and 5, and 6, 7, something like that. So yeah, so if you were doing it just based on that, then we could do it that way too. But it's kind of interesting. I never thought about that. It depends so much on the visualization, right? I mean, it's the dynamics of a stacked column chart or a stacked bar chart. I always mix those up. Shouldn't be hard. Is very different than a line chart or something else, and may even vary above with some of the other visualizations. All right, that was pretty cool. Are you guys ready for some Chinese lessons? So again, I had said this is very different, which is good. Which is good. It's good to see kind of variety. It's good to see that kind of different things. I'm just gonna check in on the comments real quick. Okay, it seems like you guys are helping each other out. Wow. Oh, Ollie, absolutely. So yeah, I mean the protocol we follow is you go to learnpowerbi.com/makeover and you click submit your entry. If you do that now, I can as long as I'm on the call, we can review that. Or of course, if the session is over by the time you send it, then we're gonna do it in the next dashboard makeover session. I would love to see that, my friends. Yeah, I mean, this is crazy. This is great. Um, all right, so Richard got a great idea from our discussion. Ali is saying, I've used these disconnected tables for dynamic top in my reports. User can select how many top items they want to see, and they love it. That's awesome. Ali, man, I mean, I think you mentioned in your comment that you kind of just started out and you haven't like really learned it properly, but you're doing some cool stuff. I mean, that's not a beginner for me. A beginning, by the way. I mean, Power BI. This whole debate whether we have as Power BI is easy or hard, but for me, I'm like, who cares? Because most of the times the first model that I build, and again, people usually get stuck up on DAX and stuff, right? So say most of my first models just have a sum and a count rows. That's it. And most often, whatever I build just with that blows the client away. And because, and again, I mean, would it blow everyone away? No. But guys, there is a huge need, huge need. If you step out of the Power BI bubble, people are still bloody hell using the abacus. Believe it or not, that's like actually true, right? So one of her members, Cheryl Praverni, she helps construction companies in New York, and she said that she would walk into the office and they literally had what she called adding machines. I didn't quite get it, but she's like, yeah, these are the precursors of calculator. That stuff is out there, and okay, that one is a little extreme, but there are a lot of businesses which are still living in the dark ages, in the stone age, as far as comes to data analysis. And yeah, so forget about. So of course, some of you have heard my pyramid theory, right? So where um, so all of us are so fixated about getting to the fucking top, and like, oh yeah, look at Avi, he's so smart. I'm not that smart, guys. I'm maybe somewhere here, you know. And yeah, and I look up at people, right? I mean, the Italians, of course, Marco Russo, Alberto Ferrari. A lot of these people are way smarter than me, right? Matt Allington, Ruth Bozzolo, I'm sure, guys in the cube, they're amazing, right? But you know what? I'm not gonna let this fact that I'm way down here stop me, because wherever you are, you can help the people who are just a few steps behind of you, right? You're most relevant to them because they will relate to you. You will relate to them, right? I mean, the best teacher is often not the person standing at the front of the classroom. It's the student next to you who nudges you in the shoulder and says, hey, I got you. I see what you're struggling with. Man, I had the same trouble last week. Let me show you, right? So yeah. Now, guys, here's the funny thing. Here's the funny thing, really crazy thing, right? So, of course, my joke is not a joke. I'm kind of serious about it. If you found out about Power BI yesterday, right? You're like, oh wow, Power BI exists. Guess who you can help? You can help all those people who haven't found Power BI yet, right? Now, are you seeing this? So think about this, guys. Somebody who's at the top, the funny thing is actually they can't help a lot of people. And when I read some of these advanced articles, I don't understand them. Really, I don't understand them, and I'm like, shit. And of course, I feel bad. I'm like, man, I'm not smart. I'm not good, but none of that shit matters, right? So think about this. The higher you go, and of course, you're helping them at a different level. So yes, can you make more money? Yeah, but who cares? I mean, there are many ways to make money. Somebody said that the way to become a billionaire in this day and age is you charge $1 and help 1 billion people. All right. I'm not saying you do that. That's not my quest, right? I like working in small groups, but you can always find a way, right? So don't let this get in your way of like, ooh, I'm not smart enough, I'm not good enough, right? So Ollie, man, you're doing pretty amazing. Richard is asking how many of us are in education. I know that I have quite a few students in education. By the way, guys, so what we're trying to do is so we have kind of this journey that I have gone along with my students, right? So the first one is the kind of the Learn Power BI. That's our kind of a flagship course, and that is focuses on the 20% core concepts that will give you 80% of the results. And yeah, and this whole fall is learning by doing, better together. It has all of that stuff. But then we have gone on another journey. We'll say, hey, what about the rest of the Power BI journey? 20% gives you 80% results, great, but there's of course stuff beyond that. So I'm walking with my students on that journey, And one of the ideas that we have in pro level is that I call it the industry specific projects. Now, I have worked with a lot of different units, right? I mean, support, operations, marketing, sales, but I spent most time around finance people. So, and it doesn't help that AdventureWorks is so kind of sales and so forth. But what the idea with this pro level group is that what we want to do is build these industry specific projects, because sometimes I do get like people from education or some other sector, and they look at some of my content and say, Avi, that's not me. That's I'm not looking at sales. I'm not. Yeah, my world is totally different. HR is such a different world. Um, but now, of course, there are two things there. One is that it's not fundamentally different, right? I mean, when I step in a new domain, it takes me really quick to figure it out and say, yep, cool. I mean, a DAX measure is the DAX measure. So I just kind of take that knowledge and apply it there. But still, so what we want to do is like do a project around HR, around education, around something else. By the way, that was presented, an education project was presented by Thomas Powers in the last Real Power BI project presentation. That was kind of interesting. All right, cool. So, all right, terrific. So I think we're caught up on the chat messages. Let me just one more check on, see if we have any chat windows here. Yeah, so Quinn likes my comments saying, so true. I just learned Power BI 3 months ago, and I'm now teaching other interns who have no knowledge of Power BI. Exactly. Oh, yeah. They're stuck doing a lot of manual scrubbing in Excel, and I can totally relate to them because I was there just a few months ago. Exactly. Oh, my gosh, Gwen, I couldn't have said it better, right? I mean, yeah, you're going to relate with them, and it just works. And again, I think the tragedy is that I meet a lot of people who are stuck in this waiting mode. By the way, guys, hey, is it okay if we just take a short detour? So, hold on one second. So I was talking to my Pro Plus students, one of the calls. So it hasn't ever happened to you that there's something that you want to do, but you think about it all the time, but don't actually do it? Is it something like that? Maybe it's Power BI. Oh yeah, you've been like meaning to learn it for a long time. Or maybe it's something else, right? And again, guys, a lot of lessons we talk about here, they apply to Power BI, but they also apply to life, everything else. So for me, that thing was hiking. Actually, if I'm being truthful, that's hiking and dancing. Okay, dancing I'll save for later. But so I yeah, I always think about it. Like, yeah, but then when I looked back, I think I was doing like maybe 2 or 3 hikes in a year. I wasn't actually doing anything. I was pretty much doing nothing, right? And I wanted to do something about it. So what I did is I started a hiking group. Yeah. So if you think about it, who the heck am I to be starting a hiking group, right? I mean, it should be somebody expert, like somebody who scaled mountains, huh? And of course, I'm inspired by my students, and of course, I'm telling this stuff. I'm telling them that, hey, life is hashtag backwards, right? If you wait to become the expert, you will never become the expert. You have to go, oh, when I become the expert, then I'll do this. Then I'll get clients. Then I'll start working as a consultant and so forth. No, you start doing it, and then that makes you an expert. That moves you much farther. So I said, I'm going to take my own advice, right? I'm going to take my own pill. So I said, here I am. So this is my new hiking group, by the way. So Issaquah Highlands, that's where I am. If you are local to the area, if you happen to be in Issaquah Highlands, gosh, that would be pretty crazy. But then yeah. So guys, so the crazy thing is that just by doing this, right? So again, it's backwards. We keep waiting, right? When I'm great at hiking, when I've done whatever, when I'm a hiking expert, whatever, right? I mean, pick your version of it. Then I'll do this, and what if you flipped it? What if you reversed it? So in the last 3 weeks, I've been on 3 hikes, which is pretty crazy. I think the first were like sub 2,000 feet, and the last one was I actually said 4,000 feet. It wasn't quite 4,000. Maybe it felt like 4,000. Man, it was a tall mountain, and it was 3,188 feet. But this is where I was. I was standing here, right, and it's crazy. Like, what? Look at this. That's Mount Rainier, by the way, for those who So yeah, it ended up being a beautiful fall day, and oh well, there we go. Yeah, selfies, um, and yeah, guys. So don't wait. Life is hashtag backwards. Okay, let's continue on with the dashboard makeover. So here we have factory violations. So what Kang Hongyi is kind of doing is that so it's in Taiwan. If you didn't guess kind of the map, and let's see, somewhere he had a signature as well, which was in English, so I could read it. Mm. So raising statistics consultant. So this one is very different, very different. For one, it's not on operational dashboard, so this is kind of doing storytelling, right? Storytelling, which is not my staple usually. Usually, I focus on operational reports, right? So which somebody's seeing day to day, daily, weekly, monthly, and then saying, oh, what needs my attention? What's working? What's not working? Let's dive in. That kind of stuff, right? So this is storytelling. Now, so of course, there's a lot of text. So one thing that I had was, and I wanted to ask people this. People have asked me this, and I think I found the answer, but then I've lost it. If you have things like this, can you put this in like a slideshow mode in Power BI and full screen showing up on a monitor where it cycles through these sheets? So if you have the answer to that, if you're on the phone, just unmute yourself and let me know, or yeah, if you can put in the chat as well if you like, or of course you're watching YouTube. Now the last thing that I remember is that it was a feature requested, so it's on ideas.powerbi.com, and if you like that idea, you should vote for that. Maybe we should all do that. Maybe it was completed. Maybe they did deliver a feature. And the last, I remember this was a few years back. It was somebody who said, "Oh, there's this Chrome plugin which you can use," or something like that. But it was kind of a bit of a hack. But of course, so for something like this, you know, so that's what I'm imagining. So again, I don't have Kang with me here, but I'm imagining that this is just kind of walking step by step, and again, there's so much text here, is that I'm assuming that they're consuming it on their own, because if you're presenting it in person, you should never do this. You should never ever do this. So again, obviously, so I have mixed feelings about this, guys, where people are using Power BI like PowerPoint. Power BI isn't PowerPoint, so it's kind of like it's almost can be as bad as when people come to Power BI and they use it like Excel, and it's disaster. It's really bad, right? Again, it's kind of by modeling by accident. It's like, what are you doing? Well, that's what I did in Excel, and that's what I'm trying to do in Power BI. Right? No, it's a different tool, right? So in this case, it is being used as PowerPoint, but then PowerPoint the same, kind of the guidelines apply. If you use it in PowerPoint, it follows guidelines. So PowerPoint, less text is better, right? So sometimes what people do is they put up all the text on there, and then they read it. They read it aloud, so they're speaking it, right? But the thing is that people read much faster than we can speak. So by the time you're done through the first reading, you're speaking aloud the first two bullet points, they have read the whole thing, and now they're bored. Now they're checked out. Now they're looking at their phone, right? So less text is better. Less text is better, right? So I'm assuming that in this case, Kang is not there in person. Otherwise, you should never ever do this. So this is just sent to somebody. Maybe it's showing up on a screen or whatever. Something is happening, right? So that's why there's so much text, which is kind of guiding them through this. By the way, there are links here too. So these links to YouTube videos, which kind of explain the report, which is a cool trick. So I think actually I'm not really sure what the videos talk about. Maybe they explain the report. Maybe they walk them through. Now, of course, this one is a little tricky. Like, if so, we love videos, and of course, the folks in our group who are consultants, we always talk about. So one way, I think Charles kind of pioneered it. I would do it, but I hadn't made it a habit. Where Charles Elwood, you met him on the channel, and he shared it with the group. With the Pro Plus group, and said, "Hey guys, so what I've been doing is when I work with clients." After so you meet with the client and then you work offline. So that's the typical life it goes, and you can be working with anybody anywhere in the world, doesn't matter. So what you do is you set up some time, you meet with them for an hour, usually once a week, and that's it, and then you work offline. But what Charles would do is when he would work offline, he would just record a quick recap of the work that was done before sending it over to the client. So yep, hey, I just uploaded the file on a shared drive, but I want to show you the changes we've done. I added this graph, I added this measure, da 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 da. Let me know, right? And maybe you give them a little more detail. So of course, I always talk about when you're consulting, you should also be training. You should be training them, telling them why we want to empower, right? I mean, the right brand of Power BI consultants wants to empower their clients, doesn't want them to be dependent on you. It's like, no, I'm gonna show you what I did and why I did it. So if you need to make a change or something else, then you can do it yourself. You don't always have to come back to me. So those videos work great. But if a video needs, if a report page needs a video to be explained, well, maybe there's something off. But anyway, so that's a good trick. And again, not knowing what the video is, well, that's good. So yeah, so this one is a lot of text. Yeah, so again, this is a different mode, so I'm trying to switch hats here. So this is not an operational report. If it was an operational report, usually kind of these backgrounds, these they don't. I wouldn't recommend that. But well, yeah, I mean, it's trying to show something there. Um, I think the visual layout isn't clean, right? I mean, what I would do is try to make this kind of symmetrical. So you see how every element is kind of a different size. It's a different size, it's a different size. So there are 4 different sizes. And again, I mean, I think the brain would kind of struggle with that. So is it possible to make them kind of the same size? And if you notice that this, it's kind of weird. Like, so there's no overlap here, but there's some overlap here. Almost no overlap here, some overlap here. Let's clean it up, right? So it's again minor stuff, but again, dashboard by design and storytelling by design. So that's that. Let's gonna look at a few things. So this is text, some explanation. So I did see that this is, by the way, so I saw this, I'm like, oh my gosh, what custom visual is this? And I realized that this is an image. So yeah, that's okay. They probably use a different statistics tool to kind of create this. Yeah, so these are just images, and it's showing, I think, the factory locations or something like that. And again, I mean, I wish, would it be possible? So I don't know. I mean, I don't know what Kang is working with, but imagine if you could make these the same size, because again, we're seeing a lot of different sizes, even shapes. Like, why is this, like everything else is rectangular except this guy? I'm not sure why, right? So, yeah, we can kind of focus on that. This is fun, right? Like Chinese, I have no idea what it says. Maybe somebody who's watching is Chinese. They're like, oh, Avi, you're way off, dude. This is talking about this. Okay, so just doing a table. And I think this one is like call outs. It's calling out the key things. Cool. No comments here. And again, this is more of a storytelling. So usually storytelling, you do want to go kind of high level to low level. So I'm not exactly sure. So I can hang on from here. Like there's some story here. Visual pictures, you start there. Humans are much better with pictures than with numbers. And certainly you give them the detail after that. Maybe there's a middle step, because a table is a lot. That's pretty much the most detail you can get in Power BI. So maybe there's a middle step where you kind of blow up a little more. So again, you're going to walk them through the story. Yeah, so I would put these charts before the table, right? So charts visual. Now the only thing that I noticed here is that so these ones are I think names of places. So by the way, I was working with Google Translate on my phone, and aiming my phone at these to kind of figure these out. So there's this rule in visualization design where is when you use a line chart, right? Oh gosh, the column has to be continuous. So it can be dates. Dates are continuous. So January, February, March, that's okay. Yeah, of course, we see line charts for months all the time, months, dates, all of that is good, right? And it could be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or something like that, right? Something which has an order to it, right? I mean, so this, you cannot use it for something else. So if it is like if you have a product category, a subcategory, right? So AdventureWorks has bikes and accessories. So if you have that over here, and folks, in my course, I do use the right terms for this. Cardinals, non-cardinal, I've forgotten it now. It's in my course. All right. So line charts, you're just not allowed. It's not okay. It's just you can never do that. You should never do that. So unless it's like a continuous axis down below, you just can't use a line chart. Yeah, you're not supposed to, right? So it's just wrong. Yeah, and it kind of makes sense. So what is the difference between a line chart and a column chart? A bar chart, column chart. A column chart emphasizes individual values. Individual values. If you can kind of compare this next to each other, that's pretty cool. A line chart does not emphasize that. Can you figure out the individual values? Yeah, sure. If you kind of work hard enough, like, yeah, this looks like this. But the line chart emphasizes a trend. All right. So think about this. It emphasizes a trend. So if you are showing like bikes to clothing to accessories, it doesn't make any sense, right? I mean, it's not like trying to, as we move from bikes to categories, this is how the trend goes. No, it does not make any sense. That's why you can't do line charts with stuff like that, right? So for a line chart, the bottom axis has to be kind of continuous. So that's the only thing that I saw here. By the way, I mean, I had read about this rule, but hey, I mean, we're all humans, right? So and yeah, this combo chart, right? I mean, this is such a tempting way, and if you want to show something else, and you're struggling with real estate, which in this case we're not, but maybe in some case I was, so I did this. And pretty much our CEO. So Microsoft is such a big company that in any big company, you have to see it as a company of companies. So inside there, we were a company of 300 people, Microsoft Learning, and basically our CEO, Lotzio, great guy. Now he's helping spread kind of. He's working on education sector in Africa, like kind of really out there. Kind of retired and focused on that. Kind of did the Bill Gates thing, right? So Lotzio, he. So I'm not sure if I was presenting, but everybody knew that charts and graphs were mine, right? So maybe somebody else was presenting. So Lutz leans over to me and kind of whispers, Avi, you're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to show a line chart when it's, in the axis like that. And I'm like, oh, shit. I felt so bad. So, I'm like, never again. Don't wait till that happens. And yes, in the graph, I'm not sure, is it loading up? Map. Cool. So, I don't know. This map isn't showing anything. Maybe that's just me. I think this is a heat map. Yeah, there was something off about this. So watch this guy. Yeah, you saw this? Yeah, it happened to me yesterday as well. Like, it's a heat map, but it didn't render. And that was obviously not good. Now, I'll say that be a little cautious when using maps. When you have locations, it's so tempting, even countries and such, and people are like, I'm going to put it on a map. But maps are not very effective. Like, and yeah, so again, if you think about it as real estate, what is the goal of a visualization? To communicate data, communicate more specifically information, right? Insights, right? That's what we want to gear towards. So it's to communicate that, and then we have limited screen space. We have to fit everything in one screen. Everything relevant needs to be in one screen. And we had talked about that in our first dashboard makeover, and I think I talked about that in my video that I pointed out earlier, is that why is having everything on one screen important? Because when we switch from one screen to another, we can only hold on to a few pieces of information, about 7 pieces of information. Now, what that does is that it reduces our ability to make connections and draw insight from the data. If everything is one screen, light bulbs can go off in our heads and we can go, whoa, look at that, look at this, right? It's much easier to make those connections, correlations. If it's on separate pages, our ability is severely reduced. That's why screen readers say, right? So if that is our goal, we want to convey information and our space is limited to one screen, we have a limited number of pixels, then what kind of visualizations do we want to use? We want to use visualizations which are power packed, which convey a whole bunch of information, lots of stuff, very compact manner, right? So another a great example of this is bullet charts. I think Stephen Few kind of created them, popularized them at least. And unfortunately, this is not a built-in visual. It should be. There are lots of custom visuals around bullet charts, but bullet charts are like power packed. They can pack so much in there. Do they need a little bit of training for the users to understand? Maybe, yeah, the first time to see it. But again, once they learn it, it's so simple, easy to use, and boom, it just back. So imagine this guy. So of course, pie charts. You're not supposed to use pie charts. Pie charts are just not very effective visuals, and we've talked about that as well. Why? They're really hard to read, much harder than we expect, much harder than we think. So of course, and there's pie chart, and there's its cousin donut chart, and then its distant cousin gauge chart, right? And the speedometer thing that I'm talking about, and people love putting those on there. Like, yeah, speedometer, like, yeah, I don't know what, right? I mean, it looks cool, right? But again, it's a dashboard by design or dashboard by accident. You're just throwing things together. Oh, that looks cool, right? Or you're understanding the principles behind this. So think about this, right? So we talked about our goal, limited screen space. We want to convey beautiful, awesome data, information, insight. Take this. Oops, it's doing that thing again. Sorry. Okay, let's try that again. Okay, so take this and so take these and convert that to gauge charts. Think about the screen real estate you would be taking. If you convert that to gauge charts, holy moly! I mean, it's probably going to be this big, right? So it's gonna take just more pixels, more real estate. All right, so bringing back to what we were talking about, maps. So maps are actually really poor in kind of conveying information. So often, if you just want to convey, something like this. So imagine if these were kind of locations or countries. Column chart is a lot more effective, and of course, column charts, you can make it really compact, and they still work. But people sometimes show that on maps. So again, guys, be careful, right? So maps, when they want to need to see it kind of geographically and so forth, and they want to understand in that context and use it. And again, think about what action they're going to take with this. What are they going to do? I mean, they're going to look at this and like, what conclusion do you want them to draw? So again, maybe this is an advantage. Maybe this is a great thing that this is in Chinese because I have no idea what the other stuff is saying. I'm just going by the visual. So if you look at this, what do you conclude? Well, I would conclude that whatever we're seeing there are three clusters, right? There are three clusters. There's this area, and there's this area, and this area, right? And I don't know, and maybe that is part of your story. You can say, look at this, and it may be interesting to kind of color code it with a little bit of color if you can, right? So again, you don't want to use too much color. So if in maps, especially in something this dense, if they're like 50 colors or 20 colors or even 10 colors, that would be crazy, right? But if you colored with something like, if there are maybe three main owners of factories, then we can kind of color those, and that would maybe give it more insight. And then you go, look, yeah, there are the three areas, and by the way, this one is most problematic because XYZ, something like that, right? So make sure you have that thing. Or maybe so in this, if by putting it side by side, so it's interesting, right? So right now I'm kind of struggling a little bit. So again, this is a good discussion, by the way, guys. So think about this: how maps are not always very effective. So the question that I'm asking, just looking at these graphs, I have no idea what is being shown. Is that I would assume that this is showing one number, this is showing the kind of the location, and the size of the bubble is something. But then maybe this is the factory violations. There's red here. Red is bad. I'm going to assume, right? So I'm seeing that. Yep, I see a cluster here. I see a cluster here. I see a cluster here. Three clusters here, right? And then, well, this one is yellow seems okay. And so again, red in our mind is programmed to be bad, right? So my eye is immediately drawn towards that, and I want to understand that. So what I want to say is that well, things are bad here. But is there kind of a correlation with the number of dots that I see or the total size of the dots? If I took the size of each dot, which is some measure, like factory violation, sales, I don't know what it is, right? It's something. So imagine if we showed this in a simple table and it said, hey, there are three main areas. In the area one, this is the count of factories, and this is the total units they produce, right? So that's what I would assume. Like the count would be the count of the circles, and units produced would be the size of the circle, right? So I have a simple table. This is the number of factories in the area, three areas, and the count of products they produce. And then in the next column is violations. Simple, right? Simple. And then I add a percentage where I would say that this is percentage based on the factory or something like that. So let's actually do that really quick. So we'll say this is area, right? So and this is area 1, area 2, and I have to do this area 51, right? So I'll say this is the area, and this is the number of factories. So that's one indicator, and this is number of total units, and this is number of violations. Simple table. So again, guys, the staple. What's the staple? The staple is line chart, column and bar charts, and tables. That's it. And when I say tables, that includes matrix, that includes card, multi-row card. That's all good, right? That's it. That should be a staple. That should be a starting point. And from that point, if you use a different visual, you better be able to explain it. The same way when I talk about modeling, by the way, guys, the Stephen Mann's model isn't just beautiful on the visualization layer. Are you ready for this? Okay, here it comes. Boom. Oh my gosh, right? That's the first thing that I look at. Didn't do it this time, but that's when I'm working with a client or helping with a question. That's the first thing that I look at, and so beautiful. And guys, sometimes people are like, I don't know, I don't like the lines. It's like a wire diagram and all that stuff. But I don't know. I say, so of course, everybody who's in my course knows this is the way I recommend, right? I mean, lookup tables up top, data tables down at the bottom. And if you have no clue what data tables and lookup tables are, never thought about it that way, man, good luck, right? You're probably doing modeling by accident, not modeling by design. Come on, guys, get on board. All right, so it's beautiful kind of under the hood too. All right, so here, simple stuff works. So now that we have these numbers, so imagine these are kind of filled in. Let's do. These are filled in with some number, right? So factories, number total, and now you can do percentage. Maybe I would decide. I wouldn't do two percentages. I would either say like percentage, like, so basically violation divided by a number of factories, or I would do violation divided by total units. So I'll see which one seems to have a tighter correlation with violations, right? So imagine if the factories were 10, 20, 30, right? And then units were, well, this one is really big, 50, and then 10, right? Something like that, right? So I'm obviously using extreme examples. And the violations, if it was correlated with factories, if factories went up in areas 10, 20, 30, and violations went up as well, then I would show violation divided by factories, right? Because I know that's what the correlation is. If it was by units, if it was 10, 5, and 1, then I would show that as a percentage of units. So it's hey, that's the main factor, right? So so again, maybe I'm way off. Somebody who's reading who can't read Chinese, like, Avi, you have no idea, man. You went off on the deep end there. He's just trying to show this, but again, it gives you food for thought, right? So maps, again, all I'm saying is just be aware, right? So if you are so guys, there was one dot that I was trying to connect, which I missed totally. And the dot was that you've heard me talk about when I look at the model, the first thing that I look for is kind of this layout, data lookup table. And then the next thing that I look out for is bidirectional relationships and dotted lines. And wherever I see that, I just put a question mark in my head, right? I don't often ask about it right away. I just mark it in my head, right? So again, what do we see here? Bidirectional relationships, right? So again, I would put a question mark there, and if I was talking to Steven, I would knock on that. So the default should be one directional relationship. This should be the default, and one to many, right? Is there many to many? Yeah, that would be weird as well, right? So that's the default. That's the default. All relationships by default should be one to many, one direction, one to many, one direction, right? Does that mean you can't have exceptions? No, of course not. I mean, I have exceptions in my model all the time. I show it in my course, right? So you can't have exceptions, but modeling by design, not by accident, my friends. Modeling by design. Every single fucking time you have an exception, man, it should be intentional. You should have thought about it. And you should be able to explain it to me or somebody else, right? What people do is, again, they have their data warehouse throw up inside Power BI. That's a bad way to do modeling. That's modeling by accident, right? And they end up with all of these dotted lines, like 50 dotted lines, and a lot of these bidirectional relationships, one-to-one relationships. And like, what the F is that, right? And again, I mean, I don't care if you do that, but if you're not able to explain, if you're shrugging your shoulder when I ask you, you're in a bit of trouble. All right. Okay. Hey, I'm going too hard. All right. It's okay, guys. It's a journey. It's a journey. You're not going to get there in day one, but that's okay. Just have that awareness. That's the first thing. to create a better dashboard, the key thing is to just understand. Again, most people don't understand that. Oh, really? Visualization is this whole thing? There are these visualization principles that can help me design a better dashboard. They just have no idea, right? So awareness is the first step. Awareness is the first step. So just be aware that, oh, okay, well, yeah, I mean, there's something about modeling. Cool. And then you go seek that knowledge wherever you can, right? And hey, I would, of course, love to have you inside my course or check out my tutorials, right? So again, so the connection that I'm trying to make is that there are some rules, some guidelines. It's okay to break them, but understand why. So the default in your graphs should be everything that I said. So it is let's call it table, right? So which includes table, matrix, card type, multi-row card, and so forth, right? And then bar and column charts. By the way, so again, this is one of those things where, do you know when a bar chart is better than a column chart, right? So bar is like this, right? And column is like that. When is one better than the other? Of course, I cover that in my course, but kind of interesting. Have you ever thought about that? Or again, is it by accident? Is it like, oh yeah, this looks better, right? Or do you really understand that, oh, in this scenario, this is better, this is the trade-off? Food for thought, my friends, right? So bar and column charts, and the last one is line chart. This should be the default, right? And when you see the power pattern on my channel, not here, I better close this thing. Okay. And this one, create a beautiful power pattern. It's built solely on this, just as this. And again, that's the starting point for almost every single thing that I do with a client. Do I not change and add something else? Have I never done pie charts? I have. But, and of course, whatever else I add, even bullet charts, right? I mean, those you should be able to kind of explain that. Yes, I did bullet charts because I was trying to show a lot of information and I needed something compact and nothing else was working. Nothing else was fitting in the real estate. Great, right? Or something else, and of course, there's that whole discussion about, like, if I understand that pie charts are not very effective. So again, I mean, think about a goal. A goal is to limited real estate, convey the most amount of information. Pie charts suck at that, right? So we've talked about that. So let's take this one. By the way, actually, so we'll come back and talk about it real quick. But the connection that I was trying to make was that so in here, it's okay to not follow kind of the default rules. It's okay to have bidirectional relationship, but you should be able to explain it why, and it better be a thought out decision. Not like, oh yeah, Power BI did that, Auto Detect did that, and I have no idea why it is that way, right? Same way, if you stray outside of this, then you should just be able to explain it, right? So again, that's the only connection that I was trying to make, right? So modeling by design, modeling by accident, dashboard by design, dashboard by accident. So we've talked about pie charts. So guys, somebody shared this with me, and I hope I can find out like this, like a scientific reference or something. But what they said was that, so again, the length, this attribute, length of something, we're really good at figuring that out and understanding really quickly, and it happens in the precognition phase, kind of almost before it hits the brain. Before you even think about it, you know it, right? So for example, I mean, I don't have to like really think about it to know that this line is shorter than that. Now the precision, think about the precision that's there. I'm told that the precision is 2 pixels. That's crazy. If it's 2 pixels shorter, we're going to know, oh yeah, this is shorter, right? Easy. I mean, we don't have to think about it. 2 pixels. Pie charts are on the other end. We think you're good, you actually suck at it, because pie charts either have you judge the angle or the area, and we suck at both of those. Humans are really bad. I mean, you go ask 10 people and they were like wildly off. And the challenge is not just that, we don't realize how bad we are. So again, I mean, it's not a very effective visual. So there's this whole discussion of, if your client wants a pie chart, what do you do? Well, I mean, as I said, have I included pie charts? Yes, I have. But sometimes I do try to talk to them and say, hey, why this is not very effective. All right, cool. So, all right, so I think we're going to call it good for our Kang Hong Yi, the violations one. Man, I'm surprised that we had a good discussion here as well. I wasn't sure how far we're gonna go, but I think, yeah, I mean, for storytelling goes, I see kind of the structure where he has one graph, and I think for storytelling that does work. So again, you see how the rules totally change totally changed from. So of course, storytelling mode is in this mode. This is unattended. Like Kang Hong Yi, the author of the model, is not there. That's what I'm assuming. Storytelling mode is, it's put a lot of text, so that mode is really different. Operational report, we saw that with Stephen Mannon's example. That is really different. So be aware of these uses, and of course where people kind of get mixed up is they see something where somebody has built an infographic, kind of bright, flashy, and they love that, and they try to do that in their operational report. Doesn't work. And maybe initially you'll be like, oh yeah, and maybe initially you would even get really positive feedback. Oh man, that looks fabulous. But it's not really effective. It's not helping them glean those insights. It's just bright and flashy and glitzy, right? So that's not the goal of the operation dashboard. And sometimes people see elements in storytelling. So I have this thing about moving bubble charts, and I talked about that, and somebody cited. Oh man, I'm forgetting the greatest statistician ever, best statistics you've ever seen. TEDx. Hans Rosling, of course. Somebody mentioned the Hans Rosling talk. Like, no, Avi, you should check that out. And I'm like, yeah, but he's not doing an operation report. He's standing there on the stage telling a story. Moving bubble charts, of course, the way he used it are brilliant for storytelling. But again, people see that in a storytelling mode, and they go and add a moving bubble chart in their operation report. Guys, come on, just please, shoot me. All right. Okay. You can see I get excited about this stuff. All right. So how are we doing on this? So we covered Sahil, and let's see if somebody else sent in. I think somebody did. So we got Sahil's. So guys, some of you keep sending me like this blank emails, like there's nothing there. It's like, I don't know why. So all right. So next one we have is Sunil. So Sunil, hopefully you're on as well. Okay. Really interesting. Oh man, okay. It looks visually good. Hold on, I'll bring it up. I just wanted to timestamp this. I should have done it earlier. I haven't been very diligent about this today. So, Sahil. And this was, I think, about 9:15. And show color hue intensity. And this was, I don't know when this was. Kang Hong Yi. Factory violation. And let's pick up, what is the time right now? 10:56. 56, and this one is Sunil. And what kind of a dashboard is it? Very interesting name, Finger on the Pulse. Okay. All right. So I got two. So this is the first attachment, Finger on the Pulse, and this is the second one. So one thing that I talked about in the power pattern is that I have this specific pattern, and then I use it over and over again. And what that does is it works really well, because once they're used to your pattern, they don't have to reorient themselves. Right? So I talk about kind of the power pattern, which is where, come on. And in the video, I do talk about it, that how I use it over and over again. So I'll use this pattern, and then I'm showing sales, and then I'll switch over and maybe show something else, but it follows the same pattern, so it's easy for them. So one thing that I noticed right away in what Sunil sent is both of his examples are kind of visually kind of similar, not that similar, but still that's good. All right, so let's just tackle kind of one by one. All right, so first of all, I will say that this looks pretty. This is eye-catching, right? So, and again, what I'm not sure is if this is an operational report or this is kind of an infographic, right? So again, let's say you're walking into a client and you want to wow them, and I get that. Sometimes that happens. You just want it to be flashy and it looks good. This to me is probably a little bit towards that, because if it's not, then I think the colors are off. If it's an operational report, which is like, no, I don't, I would rather, I'm more focused. So again, the goal with the operational report is you want to convey the data information inside. You want it to make it really easy for the user to get it. You want to build a highway for them to get to this data and inside information, not like this one-lane road, right? So if it's an operational report, I don't know the context, but then I think the colors are off. Otherwise, it's probably okay, right? So again, and again, so by design or by accident. So I think there are a little bit too many colors. Yeah, I mean it's kind of getting lost. And again, you don't have to do that many colors off. You can just do shading. So let's put our operational report cap for a bit. So first thing that I would call out is definitely kind of putting the high level numbers up top. So I've talked about that in the power pattern. That's always a great idea. Why? Because again, this is the top is usually the very important real estate. The way we scan these things is top to bottom. Well, actually left to right, top to bottom, right? So top. I like putting the high level numbers. So the colors are a little bit much. I would tone it down. Does everything need to be colored? And sometimes instead of the fill-in color. So again, we're thinking about the data pixel, non-data pixel economy. So instead of coloring the whole thing, so what if we did this? What if they were all, so again, I'm going to take it to one extreme, right? One extreme. And again, no right or wrong. I mean, you be the judge. I don't even know what the goal of this dashboard is, right? Is it an infographic or is it operation report? But let's take it to another extreme. What if I colored all of these things the exact same color, so like the background, right? So kind of like what Stephen Mon had done. Let's go back to that. I hope I still have it open. I do. Oh, man, beautiful inside and out, guys. Oh, man, think of beauty. Stephen, kudos to you, my friend. Right, so look at that. I mean, they're all the same color, right? They're all the same color. It's just a slightly off-white thing. And I love how he toggled it, right? I mean, he made the background white here and this. Yeah, man, that's just, that's beautiful, right? So all the same color. So we did the same thing for this guy, everything of the same color. And if something needed our attention, then we either did an icon, like a small red dot or something like that, or what you can do is instead of taking up the whole color board, you can color the text as itself, right? So again, different options. So think about that, right? I mean, you could do it that way. And so what I do like is see how it's. I'm assuming it's organized. So I think that's, and actually I can see that's by design. So notice how like these things are related to each other, right? These things are related to each other. These things are related to each other. These things are, so that makes sense. But again, what's the most important element in visualization design? You all know it now. White space, right? So sometimes we tend to overuse color. I don't know why, right? Well, actually, I do know why, because just we haven't been trained. We haven't been trained about visualization design. So instead of using colors, now we know that we can simply do it using white space. So right now they're not quite aligned, and the space roughly seems equal. But what I would do is I would reduce this space, so make this closer together. Oh, you can't see me, can you? So make those closer together, right? So so bring these two closer together, so that way in the mind those are connected. So of course I would kind of reduce this space, bring them closer together, and in the mind, once you reduce the space, they will be grouped, especially if you increase the space a little bit more. And that's it. So I see what he's trying to do. He's trying to kind of group these elements, but he's trying to use color for that. And again, that's not very effective. It's just overused. We're spending a lot of money on a screen in real estate. So again, we're real estate moguls. Every pixel we're drawing, and with the intensity we're drawing, we're paying for it, my friend. We're paying for it in dollars. Think about it that way, and it's going to change the way you design, right? So he's paying a lot of money for not a lot of, he's not getting a bang for the buck, right? I mean, all it's getting is maybe grouping these things together, but we can do that with white space without spending any money. White space is free. Oh my gosh, I should write that down. So, oh my God, guys, this is working. This is working, right? So think about it. It's all fitting in. Hey, it's to teach us to learn twice. I'm coming up with this stuff as we're talking about this. So, dollar on data pixels. So if it is that, and then why is, so yeah, I didn't think about that. So why is white space the most valuable element? Because it's free. Because its dollar cost is 0. Now I know what some of you smart guys are thinking. Oh, Avi, then you know what? Let's just do an empty dashboard. No, come on, don't be a smart ass. Just white space, Avi. You're gonna love it now. Okay, I think there's something else here. So there's a cost. There's the cost versus value. Now, of course, value is kind of subjective. I think it's kind of interesting that we have come up with the um, cost we pay for each pixel, right? And value is the amount of data, information, kind of insight communicated. And I think somebody can write a whole book about that. So I thinking about this, I think people have I don't want myself that big. People have communi. If I think about that, well, actually, I think Stephen. I think if you ask me, so Stephen Few's book, Information Dashboard Design, is really about reducing cost. It's like, hey, how can we be more effective? It's a little bit about value as well. Like it talks about bar charts and how they can communicate a lot more data. Pie charts not as effective, so it talks a little bit about that. But I think that one is it's kind of, I mean, there are so many elements, other elements there, right? I mean, for one, which metric you chose, and we kind of saw that here as well, right? I mean, that sometimes this percentage, this can be like an overall metric. So I was hanging out with our friends in Pro Plus Group, and Eamon Kelly, he was educating me about finance, and they were talking about these ratios in finance, and I've forgotten the terms, but he was talking about how these can give like an overall health of the company just by this one number. You can say, okay, here's how they're doing. So that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of stuff there. But again, so white space, I kept saying like why it's the most valuable element, but I think it's the most valuable element because it doesn't cost you anything, right? So by the way, off-white is cool too. So again, right? So I mean, instead of spending so much money on these colors, we can kind of bring these closer together and add a little bit of white space here, and that way, human mind can say, yep, this is a group, this is a group, this is a group, this is a group, right? So it would happen automatically, right? I mean, you wouldn't have to do anything. Everybody would get it, right? So that's simple. So I think we talked about the color. But again, I do like the grouping. So again, it's intentional, right? I mean, he has grouped these things together. Just the way he has done it, I think that can be changed, right? So that's that. So yeah, I'm a little unsure about why the intensity of the color changes. Like, is it? So again, guys, when you use color, color has to be intentional, right? So where did that go? So color always has to be intentional. So I'm not sure that hue is changing. Well, so again, let's focus on this red thing. Like this one is bright red. Right? Man, that's the most money we have spent. We have spent a lot of money building that thing. Again, we're paying for each pixel. Is that for a reason? Is that really, really bad? I don't know, right? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. So if it isn't, then we shouldn't be doing that. We shouldn't be changing the intensity. We should not be doing that. If it is really bad, then we do need to do it, but it's getting a little confusing. So again, so remember what I talked about, that red, green, yellow? You never show green, right? So stuff that doesn't need my attention, don't color it. Just keep it off white, white, whatever, something like that. Stuff that does need my attention, if this doesn't need my attention, you can color it. But again, we talked about how you can, instead of that, maybe you can do like a red dot, or you can color the text or something like that. So try that, other things. Cool. So if you kind of taken that in, yeah, I mean the border. I think the border can be reduced. So again, we're spending money, my friend. We're spending real money on every pixel we paint. So you gotta look. Your job is to kind of reduce the cost, right? So the border, I don't think is doing anything. And I think if you look at Stephen Mahon, that's a great example. That he just had that bar over there, and that's working. So we can do the same thing here. If this is a company color or something, we can just have that bar over here and be done with it, right? And I don't think we need this kind of stuff. So we can reduce this cost. And again, I mean, I'm putting my operational report hat on. I mean, does it look kind of cool, and does it look like a dashboard? Frankly, I don't care about those things. Again, my job is to convey the most information, data, insight in the most effective way I can. Cool. So we talked about the top stuff, and again, it's a great thing. I want to make sure I'm calling out the positive, right? And I want to make sure you hear it too. Is that high level numbers go up top, and it's very organized, very, very organized. Like your billing, recovery, outstanding stuff, unbilled, right? Cash collection, data, all of that stuff. So it's very organized. So that's great. And what's in this corner? Oh, yeah, white space. That's a little bit awkward. Yeah, I would probably try to do something about it. I don't know what. Maybe you can show something here. maybe you can see the answer, or fill it up, maybe make these bigger. I don't know. Yeah, so empty space like that is kind of weird. I've had dashboards with empty space. Sometimes I do that because as I work with clients, we work in the agile manner, right? We're building it layer by layer, peeling the onion. You've heard all my analogies by now. And I leave space for whatever next they're going to ask me, because that's what happens, right? And that's why Power BI is so amazing. In the old world, it took me like a week to build up a report, but everything was like, linked in with another. I call it the data spaghetti. That was in Excel. And I would show to my boss, like, boss, I did everything you asked for. Look, this is it. And they would be, and it would take probably 2 seconds. I'll say, oh, Avi, this is great. Hey, can you break this down by this and this? And I'm, oh my God, I have to like start all over, because everything was just built a different way. Power BI is not like that. It's very easy. So I just, sometimes leave space and say, yep, I know they're going to ask me something else, and I'm going to leave space for that. So that's okay. So, but yeah, otherwise in a final dashboard, you probably don't want to do that. Combo chart. This again, the axis is time, so line chart is okay. And AM roll build, AMX recovery. I think this is good. And again, so guys, I mean, whether you do it or not, that's your call, right? But I'm gonna, put my Stephen Fuse hat on and question everything, right? So again, the goal is to minimize our spend, right? And we want to focus on, so the stuff that's conveying value, great. That's data pixel for you. And man, this one is go. I don't know, man. This whole session has been really good. So data pixel and non-data pixels. Yeah, man, that's wasteful, right? So we want to eliminate or de-emphasize them. One example of that is shadowing, right? So, and again, like, oh, it looks cool. It looks like it's floating on there, but you don't need it. You don't need it. Like, the data is your star, right? I want my users to focus on the data. What needs their attention? Not like, oh, it looks cool. So again, right? I mean, that's kind of my hat. So I would get rid of shading, right? And yeah. So and I think so. Of course, this is more on the art side than science, but I think the general kind of sensibility that I've seen is not curved but square, right? So that's kind of more trendy. Maybe it is visually effective. I don't know. I have no idea. So if we got rid of the background, so again, this curved thing, I feel like we're being forced into it because we put this curved border around it. So if we remove that and we just had like this rectangular thing, just like this guy, I think we can get rid of this curved thing as well, which again, it's more of an art, kind of a preference thing. And of course the cards are kind of curved as well. Generally I see more square. I'll leave it up to you, but yeah, I mean, I would call out that Sunil, he's consistent, right? So if pretty much everything is curved. So that is good. Right? I mean, the card borders are curved. Of course, this border is curved and this border is curved. So if you do it one way, he's sticking to it. That's good. So keep it that way. But folks, you can try square as well. So this one is good. Gauge charts, again, not a huge fan. But yeah, I'll leave it up to you. Yeah. So this one. Man, I haven't used a great gauge chart in a while. I'm having trouble reading it. So this is the axis. Oh yeah, I think there's something off here. So so you see this, how this text is way too big than it needs to be. Well, actually, man, I need some help here. What in the world? So I get this is the axis. This is 0K. This is 855K, which seems a little random. I'm not sure if 855K maybe is the target, and I would think that this is the actual value, or sometimes that is the target. No, I don't know. What in the world is a number in the middle? I don't know. 3 million just seems really off. So I don't know what that is. 3 million. Oh, it is cash claim. Oh, that's the actual number. Oh, okay. Maybe I read it wrong. So this is the axis. This maybe is the target, and I would say this is the year and 570K. Oh, sorry, I read it wrong. Wait, that doesn't. I don't think this is working for me. I'm so confused. So, like in a, let's go to. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just me not having used gauge chart in a while. But the way I read this, For now, ignore the color variation. Ignore that. It shows a graph, and the line is a target, right? And this line, this mark, right? So you can see, and this line over here is the actual. And the way to read it is simple, right? I mean, you look at this here and say, hey, we have met the target, right? Here, we haven't met the target. We haven't met the target. We haven't met the target. And you can see how far off we are as well, right? I mean, in this one, well, we're a little bit ahead. We're a little bit away. Oh boy, we're a long way away. We're a little bit away. Oh, we're a little bit ahead, right? So that's how I read it. And gauge is like the curved, more heavy screen real estate version of this. That's the way I see it. But yeah, I'm lost here. Hold on. So let me see if I can check your comments and stuff. Okay. Any help, guys, on the gauge chart? All right. Not yet. So I'll keep going. I think, yeah. So I can definitely connect 3 million shows here. Actually, there's something. But what I was going to say was that the axis, this is way too bigger. This needs to be smaller. I mean, it needs to be definitely smaller than the actual number. So I think if this is the actual and if this is the target, those need to be slightly bigger, and the axis is, it's just not that useful. So, and of course, in this case, you don't show the axis at all. But this is good. So that's interesting. So now, of course, there's another challenge here, which is, I think, is that Sunil, so I just realized this, is trying to use color not only to kind of organize things there, but he's also using color to connect the elements down here. Oh, that's an interesting challenge. So how do we do that? What's the best way to do that? So I'm going to call that out. So Sunil is using color to not only categorize at the top. Sorry, I have this habit. I speak when I type. But also to connect elements. Okay. So we can see that billing has this, and again, we talked about intensity, but billing is kind of connected here. Cash collection is blue, which is actually not connected through color. I mean, I expected this to be this color. So there's some, it's inconsistent, which is surprising because it's so well built. So I had expected this one to be kind of purple or whatever the color is. And build and recovery was kind of maybe this a little bit bluish. Yeah, and I'm not sure. So you can see how color can kind of land us in trouble. So I'm trying to maybe find connections where there aren't. So build, is this a shade of blue? I don't know, right? And is the red connected to this? Are these like outstanding stuff? I don't know, right? So there's a little bit of confusion there. So again, I think we will be better served if we really tone down or even remove the colors kind of here. So now billing, of course, is lucky. Billing is lucky because billing is positioned right under this. So in that case, you don't even need color, right? I mean, if this was a neutral color, if this was all gray, people would still make that connection. And again, you can use the white space. You can, reduce the space between this and just nudge it closer, and it'll say, oh, that's connected to this. So you can use that. But that's just we got lucky, right? So billing is easy. But what about cash collection, right? So cash collection is, it's kind of spanning these three, right? So that's how the span, and it could be this, could be this, could be this. So it's not like visually aligned with anything. So how do we connect this with that? So I think color can be used to connect two things, but I think you can use like a subtle touch. So I would use not fill in. Fill in is the most expensive way to use that real estate, right? They're just spending a lot of color. Maybe just color the titles. That's what I would look for mainly. Color the titles of that color, and yeah, right. So make the title of this blue color, the same color you're using, if you really need to, sometimes I think you can fill in the background and the title. But again, screen real estate, think about that, right? So that way you can kind of connect that. So just use the same color, and they'll say, yep, actual cash collected is kind of deep blue, and cash collection, and maybe your graph is even gray, right? And you just, if you color the title, you're consistent and you color the title. So you color this title blue, with the same shade of blue, and bang, they're connected, right? So that could be one way to do it. All right, man. This is really good. But again, I mean, kind of visually pleasing, looks really nice. But of course, I was looking at it from my operational report hat, and that way, I think we can, kind of make a few tweaks to kind of really make it powerful and let the data shine, let the data be the superhero here. All right, so let's look at the next one, which is, by the way, guys, this is awesome. I hope you're having fun. Which is this one. So again, I mean, so actually he hasn't done it quite to the level that I usually do, but maybe this because these are different dashboards, right? I mean, but again, I talked about how in my video, this one here, how to create beautiful Power BI dashboards. I talk about how I use one pattern and then I use it again and again and again, and I change some elements. And I would do sometimes different things, where sometimes I would have like a consistent element over here, and then I would put like a line or white space, and then I'll change the elements over here, right? So you go from page 1, then this thing is always kind of consistent, right? Always it's cards table graph, right? And of course showing different data, but the same manner, right? The same visual elements. And yeah, so that can be really helpful if you have multiple pages, and it really helped the user. Otherwise, they go from one page to the next page and they have to like totally reorient themselves. Oh no, in this page, So yeah, all right. So this one we're going to treat it as brand new. So turnover analysis by industries and sector. So I think it looks pretty clean, looks pretty nice. Again, I think in this one, because there are a lot more elements, maybe I think the shadow is really detracting me. I think that's really taking away the joy from me, and I think that's just not needed. I mean, the data would still shine brighter, if the shadows were done away with. So I think the shadows are a little too much. Shadows definitely we should get rid of that. And then this one doesn't. It feels less structured. So usually you want to go from, again, like what is a power pattern? High level numbers, few breakdowns, then detail. High level numbers, say it with me. High level numbers, breakdown and trends, detail. High level numbers, all right, so you got it. So in this case, we're starting off with the table. Now, table is usually associated with detail. Table, it takes us a long time to process a table, my friends, right? So, and imagine, in this case it is not, but imagine the same information was being shown visually. So again, I mean, remove all of the text. Don't worry about the text, because text takes us a long time to read comparatively, right? Remove all the text and bingo, right? I mean, like in an instant, I can see that we're really dominant. So whatever the number is, it's coming from one area. I can see that, right? And I can see that how dominant it is. That is more than double of the next one. See how easy it is, right? So, man, yeah. So these ones kind of visuals, the simple elements, we understand them really, really quickly. Tables, it takes a lot more time compared to that. So this one, we have to do sequential processing, right? So we have to go kind of one by one. And Information Dashboard Design, the book, has this beautiful example where he has a random number. He has a page full of numbers, right? So. Shoot, drew random number. Let's try this. Oh, you know what? Anyway, random number. Let's try that. So he has a he has a list of all of these numbers, and they're right next to each other. And he said, count the number of 9s in this. And man, it takes a long time for you to do it. And then he shows the same thing, and the only thing he's done is that the 9 is in red. And of course, man, you count it in a second and you're a lot more confident. So that's the difference. So that's the difference between, kind of getting things in an instant versus kind of pretty much sequential processing. So tables, we have to do sequential processing. We have to go, partner, and 4 7. Yeah, I mean it's a lot of work, right? So again, there is less structure to it. So again, what I would do is I would put one of the high level elements up top. So again, all real estate is not the same, right? I mean, this is the least valuable real estate on that. If you're going to put a company logo, that's the place to put it, not there, my friend. Don't put it there. I have done it as well, so apologies for that. Right? So we want to understand that, and we want to put the higher value elements over there, because right now it's kind of confusing. I mean, so again, I'm really confused because I don't know what to look at. So again, remember that museum guide tour analogy that I used earlier, right? So we have to guide them without actually being there. So I'm a user and I'm looking at this and I don't know what to look at, right? So if oh, by the way, there's have you heard this from your manager? Where that we were talking about different items and like, oh, you need to do this, and you feel like your manager is like giving you too much work, or their expectations are not reasonable, and we should really focus on some of the key things. So you try to talk to them about trying to prioritize, and it was, oh, everything is P1. And of course there's another version of that, and like, shit, P1, P2, P3 wasn't good enough. P0, what everything is P0, whatever that means, right? So, but guys, the thing is, if everything is important, nothing is important, right? If everything is important, then nothing is important. And we don't want to build dashboards like that. We don't want to build dashboards where nothing is important. Do you? I don't want to build those, right? So no, all things are not equal. There are some things that are more important. Now, what are the clues for importance? Location is a great clue, right? And right, so top left is valuable, right? Bottom right is low value, right? It's the least value, right? So location is that. Size. So of course we were talking about how in the other graph I was talking about how, well, I mean, there's no reason that the axis number should be as big as that number, right? So again, size, again, dashboard by design, right? Every element by design. So size is important. So here, the challenge that's happening is I'm getting mixed clues. I'm getting really mixed clues. So location-wise, there's this weird element which doesn't fit. There's too much detail. So I'm kind of struggling with that. I mean, I'm going to that because, again, humans tend to read that way, right? I mean, we go right to left, left to right, top to bottom. So I'm getting stuck. But so that's there. It's in the location. But then this thing is also kind of important, and look at the size of this thing. This is the biggest element. So I'm really struggling. I don't know what, Sunil, help me out. Like, so right. So we need to make it simple. We need to give them the guided tour of the museum, not have them, spend way too much time in the first section, and then run through the next section. So that way, obviously, they're not getting the best experience. So what I would do is I would put this, assuming that's the most important element because you sized it so big. I would just bloody hell put it in the more important spot, right? So I'll put it there. And I'll lead with the graphs, right? So graphs are easy. So maybe there's some structure there, but try to lead the graphs. So cool. At least I would switch this up over here and talk about that. So industry, that goes over there. Client handler, I don't know. Can we put sector next to that? Maybe, man, the scroll bar here looks crazy. So there are a lot of sectors, it seems. So there's something off. Yeah, I mean, maybe either not show sector if there are really a gazillion sectors, right? I mean, this scroll bar is still, obviously you want to avoid scroll bars as much as possible, right? So either choose elements, like is there a grouping of industry? Like already this is showing grouping, like entertainment, real estate. But if there is a scroll bar, either you try to make the graph, can you make the graph bigger? Can you not have maybe some other element, make this one bigger? So sacrifice this guy, which has a mile long scroll bar, and then just make this one bigger and just not have a scroll bar. Right? Let's call that out. So, man, I don't know. Is that a scroll bar? Or is that no scroll bar? Maybe I'm seeing things. Maybe that's not a scroll bar. Maybe it's just 3 things. Then it's okay. All right. So yeah, the scroll bars are kind of bugging me. So of course this one is kind of cramped, and this one I don't even know what that is. Like bands, but what bands? What is the first band? So this needs some love, some TLC. All right, so yeah, so And folks, so when you do like a background, when you do a background and you do a fill in, right? You sometimes get more in trouble, So it's okay to do that, and of course there's sometimes you can do really well, it looks fine, but you don't feel like you need to use that. And again, yeah, you don't need to use that. So if there is just a white background or the whole background is off white, kind of one color, so you're not worried about the background and you're not worried about this dashboard, this shadows floating look. So right now what's happening, see, look at this. This client handler looks misshapen because it has a lot of this, right? I mean, this weird space. And otherwise, if there's a little bit of space in the dashboard, people don't notice it. But this space, because of this rigid boundary that we drew and the shadow, we highlighted it, that space becomes part of that element. When we see it, so white space disappears, right? We don't really see white space, right? But in this case, the white space is an element of that. So I'm struggling with that as well. Like, dude, that just looks kind of wrong here. So if you didn't have this floating shadow thingy, it sometimes becomes easier for you to just element. And so of course, if I didn't have that, then I would just make that element this big and not have to worry about that. Oh, it needs to line up with this because there's nothing to line up. I'm just showing that element, right? So that would make it easier. So group spans. Detail. So I think certainly I would go for structure, kind of high level numbers. See if you can. So right now it doesn't have any high level numbers, right? Like this guy. Are there any high level numbers that we can show which give us like this one word thing or a few word thing on turnover analysis, right? So, and again, I'm not talking words. I'm talking about numbers, right? So turnover analysis. So what if we said that the average turnover across all industries is this? That could be one number. Something else, something high level like that, like the time frame, right? And meantime, something like that. So are there high level numbers? There probably are. So I would try to work them again in the more important areas at the top left, something like that. So high level numbers, you do have some breakdowns. So go into that next as much as you can. I realize there's some organization, and then see if you can dive into the detail. And this is all that kind of detail, and this seems really detailed. So of course, if I do an element like that and that is that much squished, what I would do is make sure to train the users to pop it out, right? Because frankly, that element, if you don't pop it out, it's useless, right? So, right, I mean, pop it out. So I want to make sure I wrote scroll bars. Try to avoid. All right, cool. So, boy, man, that was pretty intense. But certainly so Sunil certainly has a great sense of aesthetic, right? So I mean, yeah, I mean these things do look beautiful, but I think if Sunil kind of combines that with a little bit of some of the Stephen Few principles, uh, man, it'll be at a wholly different level. And of course, I think we can all say that Sunil can build very beautiful looking and very eye catching dashboards. So check there, but of course, if the goals slightly shift and we are more focused on less the bling and more is like, hey, can we communicate? Can we focus? Can we guide the user through the journey? Can we have them focus on the data? Can have data be the superstar? I think where his sense of aesthetics, if they combine just a little bit with some of the Stephen Few principles, man, that's going to be like the magic thing. So, boy, that was pretty cool. All right, go, guys. So let's see. I'm going to do a last check if somebody just by chance sent me something new. They didn't. So that's it. I'm going to call out, the announcements that I made earlier. So upcoming Talk Power BI next Friday. I can't believe it. We're going to have Corball, Ruth Pozuelo, talking about something really cool. But frankly, I didn't care what she talked about. I'm like, oh my gosh, Ruth is going to be on my channel. Yay. Right. And later in December, then this is the Thanksgiving week. We're going to do questions for that. And we're going to have a way for you guys to pre-submit your question. Similar to how we do Dashboard Makeover. You just click a button and it pre-populates the disclaimers. So guys, that's what we have kind of, so we're going to do that. I'm not sure what I think December 6th we're doing something special as well. But December 13th is, again, this idea of our great Power BI leaders. And again, leader doesn't mean a title. Leader doesn't mean you're a CEO, CFO, director, or anything, any of that stuff like that. A title means nothing, right? I mean, how many people who are in roles of power, right? Who have the title, but they're not leading anybody. Oh, I know. I've worked with a lot of them, right? So, and then people who. So, of course, I look at my class and I always find inspiration there. Now we have folks who are CFOs and CEOs, and folks who work in the call center, and they're both leading their organization to this new age of BI, right? So you don't need a title. So it's not that, um, but so what is a leader? And the key question is, are they born? Are you born with these instincts? Now, of course, I feel that not quite, not true. You can be created. It can be created. It can definitely be created. So can we unpack that and what makes that leader? So we'll talk about that. I'm pretty excited about that. Pro Plus, that's opening soon. So guys, that's been my that's our premier program. That's our highest level program right now. So of course, Pro Plus, by the way, is beyond Power BI. So in the program itself, we don't really talk about Power BI. I mean, there's the course. These people get access to the course and advanced learning and advanced support if they're working with a client, if they get stuck. But that's not what the program is about. It's like there are lots and lots of people who are technically skilled. And of course, this program was born because I saw my students and I saw what I felt was unfair or it seemed wrong, where there are a lot of people who were equally technically skilled, but some were taking off in their careers as a consultant or in their careers inside the company, but others were not. And that's why I did this. So in this one, we kind of unlock that, and I teach the stuff that elevates you, right? So, well, you have technical skills, but guess what? So have 100,000 million other people. But how do you become this superstar? How do you make a greater impact? How do you, right? So, and of course, guys, so I'm what I call myself a solopreneur, right? So I don't have a vision of creating a company of 30 consultants or 300 or 3,000 or 30,000. That's not me. I just want to have complete flexibility with my time. So last year I had taken a month-long vacation in India. And yeah, the best part was I didn't have to ask anybody. I didn't have to think about it. Like, oh, how am I going to do this? I'm like, oh, cool. Let me just book the tickets. Yeah, I want to go there. Right. So I want to have complete flexibility with travel, going back to visit my parents, spending time with my family, traveling with my family, all of that. Hiking now. You saw me talk about that. Yeah, I'm thinking about taking the Wednesday off because it's good weather. Seattle, man, November, it's hard to find a sunny day. So that's the life that I want to create. But again, you don't have to want that life. That's my thing. But basically, this idea to live your life by your own rules, right? So, and yeah, do what you love. Do what you love. Every single person we have in here, they love this stuff. And you see how excited I get. So, of course, I occasionally swear. And I talk to my kids. I'm like, hey, kids, I find myself doing this. And I feel a little bit hypocritical because I tell you guys not to use bad words. And I'm using bad words. And, well, my kids were cool with it. And, they said, it's okay, Dad. We get it. So, but yeah, yeah, I get excited about this stuff. But yeah, I mean, and of course, there's this idea. I mean, work is not work for me anymore. Is this work for me? No, man. I've been having fun for the past few hours. Hopefully, you have been too. Right. So, and it just unlocks a whole totally different world. And there are these mental models that we build for ourselves. But the fact is that they can also imprison us, right? So we are our own prison, if nothing else, right? So you would sometimes hear people like, oh, you know what, whatever, man, who cares? It's just a paycheck, right? Just do the 9 to 5, do the thing, and then enjoy your life. But man, am I not alive when I'm at work? And what if it didn't have to be that way, right? What if it wasn't just a paycheck? What if it was a mission, right? What if I was driven by something far bigger, right? So Simon Sinek talks about this infinite game, right? Guys, this is my infinite game, right? So right on the homepage, where did that go? This is my infinite game. This is my mission, my passion, my life's quest, if you will, right? I love that word, quest, right? We're going on a journey. It's going to be fun. It doesn't matter if we fall down. We're going to get up. It's the journey that matters, right? So yeah, and my life's quest is to, kind of understand this myself and then unpack it and teach it to others. How do you create Power BI leaders? And hey, I know a lot already. And of course, we've had amazing success with our Pro Plus students. But of course, as these quests go, you get deeper and deeper and get better and better. And you learn the same lessons sometimes at a deeper level. Same lessons, but at a deeper level. And of course, Power BI works the same way, right? So that's kind of my life's quest. But what I think is that sometimes people hear me talk about this stuff like, oh, that's, dude, yeah, it's easy for you to say. But that's the thing, right? I mean, your mental models are your prison. If you keep saying that to yourself, that, oh, no, but that's not for me, then you're never going to do it. In my mind, I could never be an entrepreneur. I could never run my own business. Why? Because my dad hadn't done it. I grew up in an environment in India where there was a sharp divide. It was like black and white between what we called service class kids and business class kids, right? So service class kids, their dads worked in the government. They were all public jobs back then. And yeah, they did the thing. They did 9 to 5. My dad had a hellish commute every day, right? I mean, he would leave way early in the morning, come back late in the night, totally exhausted. And that's what I saw, right? And again, we don't realize when those things we make them our permanent reality when they're not, right? So somehow in my mind, like, no, I'm not that. I saw those other kids, business kids, who were goofing off and they had those fancy cars. I'm not that, right? So, but of course, once I stepped into it, I realized, man, it doesn't take anything, right? So you might see this like, oh, I know that's easy for you to say. And folks, what I'll also say is that sometimes the reason why you're excluding yourself, the reason why you're saying that I can't do this, is the reason why you should do it. So this is the common stuff that I hear, right? Like, well, because I don't have money. Avi, I just can't invest in the program. But think about it. Isn't that the reason why you should be doing this? So that, well, you don't have to worry about it for the rest of your life? Of course, I hear about time. Isn't that the reason why you should be doing it? You're so busy, you're doing so much work, but what are you getting out of it, right? When I spent 15 years in corporate America, and in my story is I was even with all the Power BI expertise and all that, when layoffs came around, I was still scared, right? So you're spending a lot of time, you're so busy anyway. Wouldn't you want to create a life where you have more flexibility and freedom? And again, if you don't, that's okay. Cool, respect that, right? But again, question that. So my big reason of why I couldn't do any of this thing was because I have kids, I have family, I have obligations, I have a mortgage. How could I do this, right? But my kids became my reason that I did this. And I'm a huge fan of TED Talks, and they have shaped my whole life. From Simon Sinek's talk, Start With a Why, to this one, whom I forget who the speaker was, but they were talking about how to make tough decisions. And actually, this was about 10 reasons why you're going to fail. And the person said, one of the reasons was that, oh, you're going to fail because you're going to make your kids your excuse. And I'm like, oh shit, he's talking to me. That's what I'm doing. Like, oh yeah, I can't do it because of my kids. And he said, well, if you do that, how are you ever going to look in your kids' eyes when they have fallen down and they're ready to give up? How are you ever going to look them in the eye and say, buddy, you got to go for your dreams, right? You can't. You can't. Look, no, ignore me, not what I do it as I say, not as I did. No, I wouldn't be able to say it, not with any conviction. But man, now I fucking can, right? I mean, I can tell my kids, man, reach higher. Reach for the sky. Go for your biggest dreams. Go for the stuff that scares you shitless. Go for that. Go do it. And once you've done it, you realize that it was nothing, right? Impossible is nothing. And then you're going to be on to the next step and just enjoy that journey, right? All right, folks. So that's Pro Plus. That's coming in Jan 2020. You can go to our site and find more information about that. And of course, if you're on the other side, if you're in a company and if you're running a company, whatever, and you need consulting and training help, of course, we have lots of students working in a lot of different industries with a lot of different varied experience. So pretty much whatever industry, whatever your need is, I can probably connect you with just the right person who's going to take care of you, who's going to help your business succeed. So just go to learnpowerbi.com and contact me, and we'll connect you with somebody really awesome. All right, folks. So, hey, this has been great. We'll hang out next week, and of course, look forward to the next dashboard makeover. And again, I would really encourage you to learnpowerbi.com/makeover to submit your entries for the next one we're going to do. And again, it's like a win-win, right? I mean, you get to kind of tell your story. You got to kind of get started with that. And who knows, maybe you would submit it here. Maybe next time you would present it at a user group, at a meetup, at a business conference. Who knows, right? I hope all of that happens for you. And this can be like an easy first step for you. And yeah, it's kind of win-win. Of course, your work gets showcased in front of the worldwide audience, and hopefully me and the rest of the community can give you some feedback which can make you help you elevate to the next level. So learnpowerbi.com/makeover. I'll see you next time. Until then, power on, my friends.